in my rhyming.
They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Don't need that cottage promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed, disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of own nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
Sweet, eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. What is up, my rogue warriors out there? It is Sunday night. It is an exciting day. I myself have had a beautiful, glorious, wonderful day. I hope you have as well. I had a bunch of deer energy today. I don't know what that was about, but I was on my morning walk today and a deer just bounced by me, just full speed, which maybe should have been alarming. I don't know if there was a coyote nearby or whatever, but it was fine. It was cool. The deer bounced by, and then I was talking with a good friend about it, and we were talking about how cool deer are. And I remember this time when I was hiking and these deer were on this trail. It was a gorgeous, beautiful Pacific Northwest day on the coast of the Pacific Ocean in Washington State. It was amazing. I was hiking alone, which you're not supposed to do, but I had to. And I came upon these deer and they were just grazing in the path. And the path is very narrow, as all paths that are truly followable are. And they were just there, standing there, and they just looked at me and were like, meh, and didn't even care at all that I was there. And so after I stood there for a minute and kind of checked out the energy, and I'm like, they're pretty cool. Whatever, I'll just slide by them. And so I walked by. They didn't move at all. So I just literally slid by their bodies, and I pet them as I went by, and they just did not care. And I was like, this is amazing. So I remember that story. And then, I don't know, people were sending me deer memes. It was just a deer kind of day for some reason. So I wonder if you guys had any deer experiences today and what that might entail, what you think that energy is all about. Bow season is starting. Maybe it was running from hunters. We have two huge bucks that hang out in our neighborhood together, which I didn't know bucks did. And they just hang out in the neighbor's house across the street. They're eating flowers. They're just whatever, walking through. And we're not rural. We're in a city. We're kind of in the neighborhood, more neighborhood area of the city, but it's still city. There's a gas station 2 blocks away. So it's just kind of funny to see deer there. And then again, to see two bucks together is kind of interesting. Huge. I think they were 5 points. I don't know. They're pretty big deer. So anyway, what's up, Tom Pelly? What's up, Tom Pelly again? Oh, it's you twice. Nice to see you. So yeah, what is the deer all about? I don't know. If it's a doe, I just think of gentleness and agile, sure-footedness, but sort of quick to fright. And also that just sort of patient, they'll sometimes have to wait for a really long time, especially to cross the road or do shit like that. So maybe that's the energy we want to embody today. And it got cold here. I don't know about you, but I love it. It's great. It's 40 degrees outside, and it was 80 or 90 last week. I don't know. It's crazy, but it's also super nice. I love it. Do I have red hair? What's up, Mateo? Nice to see you. No, I don't. I have brown hair. I don't know why it would look red. It doesn't look red to me, but maybe it has reddish tints in it. It's just, this is whatever my natural color is. I think it's brown. But yeah, I got to wear a sweatshirt today. I'm like, woo! I love cold weather. I don't know about you, but winter is my favorite. Fall is awesome. Fall is heading towards winter, so it's good. Spring's all right. We're getting out of, winter, and then summer is the worst. Although I love swimming in waterfalls and lakes. But I like the season change. I like that it's getting cooler. I'm excited that the leaves are starting to turn and starting to fall. I'm going to go leaf watching tomorrow because I'm a very lucky person. And it's just nice. So breathe it in. Breathe in the cool air while we have it. Breathe in the peace that it brings, the calmness that it brings, and maybe some of that patience. Maybe make yourself a cup of warm tea. Maybe you're somewhere where it's hella hot and you're like, dude, I don't relate to this at all, but I'm just enjoying that. And since a recent episode, we talked about some of the changes. We talked about the equinox and all the astrological implications of the equinox and how we honor the equinox and just what it's about, what this time of the year is about. I decided to follow that into some more talk about ages and astrology, because we talked about ages in that episode. We talked about what an age was and how ages, we say we're in the age of Aquarius, but we're not. It's actually totally inaccurate. We're still in the age of Pisces, which I did not really know. I mean, I hear that. It's so debatable, apparently. People have told me that we're in the age of Aquarius. People have told me that we're in the age of Pisces. And then there's people who are like, well, it depends on your, Mandela status and how affected you are. Like what? So I don't know, wherever you want to go with that, but we are in an age, and an age is usually defined as like the great year has 12 or 13 ages, depending on how you look at it. And each of those is divided up into about 2,160 years or so. And each of those periods is determined by where the sun is rising on the spring solstice, the vernal, equinox. And so on the vernal equinox, the spring equinox, where the sun is rising, what sign is behind it that's the age that we're in. It takes 2,000 years to get to the next one. So we are all still in the age of Aquarius. We're going to talk about things like that and things about the rest of the astrological implications for 2020. People have been asking me to do a show on this for a while, and I mean, there was a lot of hype this year about the astrology. It's like very significant, more so than any other year. But I think we just do that because we're humans and we're like, this is the year I'm in now, so it's the most important year. And so, I don't know that it's the most significant astrology we've ever seen or anything, but it is pretty cool. And I did not touch on the alignment, so just don't kill me. I'm just talking about some of the astrological implications otherwise. And maybe we'll get to the alignment, or maybe someone who's really knowledgeable about it will call in later, because later we're going to do a call-in time. So if you are into that and you know a lot about it, you can educate us, and that would be cool. When do we get to Aquarius? Well, we're going to talk about that. According to Athen Comenti, who was on Rogue Ways about a month ago or so, did a quick little episode. He's super knowledgeable and awesome. He does Vedic sidereal astrology. And so what that really just means is that he's looking at the actual sky as it is now, the actual sky as it was actually when you were born. Because it turns out the way that Western people do astrologies is we base it off of where the stars were in year zero. Just this arbitrary year that we picked, which is somewhat near when the age of Aquarius started. So it kind of might make sense, but like, why did we stick with it? Why would my chart right now be cast on what the sky looked like 2,000 years ago? It doesn't make sense to me at all. So I like the idea. I like his interpretation of, that we should be looking at what's happening right now. This is where we are, and this is when we are. So why wouldn't we? So I like that aspect of sidereal and Vedic astrology. It's just looking at the sky as it was, as it is, and as it was on the day you were born, or as it was on any given time, as it actually looked. And so that's what he does. And so since learning about that distinction and that this difference exists, I have enjoyed learning more and more about that. And you may have heard me talk about it on that episode, or if you watched it, or since then, or maybe even before then, because I got my Vedic chart cast before then, that my astrology changed. My whole life I've been a Sagittarius and this and that, and my moon is this, and all those things. And I don't know a whole lot. I'm not like an expert in this stuff. And so even when I cast my chart, I have to read everything about it and look it up and, figure it all out. But I knew enough to know, my basics at least. And then I got my Vedic chart cast, and it's totally completely different. I'm no longer a Sagittarius. I'm an Ophiuchus, and that changes things a bit. But what was wild was, as I looked into it, I related way more with my new chart than I ever did with my old chart. My old chart, I was like, yeah, just like you could probably with anything, you'd be like, yeah, that describes me, especially the Sagittarius aspects. I have a lot of Sagittarius aspects. I'm very quick to change and happy to change, and so therefore people call me flighty. I have very eclectic interests, and I'm just I'm very Sagittarius, but Ophiuchus has a lot of those qualities actually. And then added to it is this aspect of being like a healer and a teacher. And that's like actually what I've always been. And so that fit a lot. And then there's a lot of Sagittarius elsewhere in my chart. So it still makes sense why I would have a lot of affinity for Sagittarius. So you might want to go look if you've never done your chart and see what it is in the Vedic sidereal way of looking at things. And actually, Athen Commenti, if you haven't gone yet, he offers that for free. So you can go to his site, Mastering the Zodiac, and you can get your chart for free. He also has tons of videos on YouTube and on his site and just resources for you. So if you're like me, I wanted to just interpret it myself. So I had it cast, and then I just looked up each symbol in each house and all that stuff, and looked at it to myself. But he also does readings, and he's just a super knowledgeable, really awesome guy. You can tell he really comes from the heart and the mind, and he's very astute. So yeah, he's really cool. So yeah, we're looking at that version, and I'd say like his version, because he actually revolutionized the way that we look at astrology. He's just a really cool guy like that. But it's not his; it is just a way. But it's we're gonna look at his way during this episode today. Talk politics during different signs. I don't know what that means, but I still love you. What's up, Chris Phoenix in the house? Joker Damaged is in the house. Thank you for the thumbs up. A little too spicy is here. What's up? And if you guys don't know, let me tell you some things. Some people don't know that I do Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday every single week, every single time. And I do a couple hours, usually at least, here on the live stream. So you can catch that on Facebook, on YouTube, and on DLive. And also you can go to my site here, rogueways.org, also known as CoreySharman.com. There's all kinds of collections of various types of writing, articles, poetry, mostly poetry, to be honest. My longer writings I often save for, Subscribe Star or books. And so you can also buy my books. I recently dropped the sequel to my first novel, which was Sine Curve of Aeons. Here you see it. Super awesome book set in a distant time and place. There is a story. It's a race against good and evil. All kinds of really fun stuff that ties in with a lot of the things that us in this alternative thinking world like to think about. And Earth, A Trough in Time is the sequel to that. This series travels through the Sine Curve of Aeons, which is the golden age to dark age path that the Earth and the people and consciousnesses on the Earth take throughout that time period. And it's just super fun. I've been dropping like quotes from the book on my Facebook page and getting people excited about it. People have loved the book so far, the people who've got it. I highly recommend it, obviously, because I wrote it. If you want to buy this prequel, I don't have any of Earth right now in my possession, but they're on their way. But I am selling signed autographed copies of Sine Curve of Aeons Vitalis. If you haven't read that yet, this is available for you for $17 to my PayPal. We'll get it shipped to you. No taxes, no shipping, just $17 flat. I will sign it to you or anyone you would like it to be signed to, and that is yours forever. Forever. And Earth will have the same deal going any day now. You can grab a tarot reading from me while you are here. I would love to offer anybody who's seeking a tarot reading. I do a life path reading. And I also do insight vignettes is what I call it. And once we work together for at least one time, I also can do a very focused, individualized, designed reading just for your specific circumstance. And so you can get much deeper even into what we already did. But even when people do just the life path readings, it is very profound. I have people who come back month after month and do the life path reading over and over again. And it's really cool to see the progress that people make in their personal, emotional, spiritual, career, all of those aspects of their life. And if you are not necessarily into tarot, but you still want those same benefits, then I also offer guidance sessions. And these are exactly what I just described. If you are looking for assistance or support in your personal, professional, spiritual, career, any other aspect of your life, relationships, health, all of that, then I can not only help you, but I can, get some connected, guided messages to you from your higher self, your spiritual allies, whatever you consider to be God. Those things are available to you. So especially if you're in, crisis, then please reach out. And even if you're not, if you're just looking and you just want to take a gander at what's in store for you or what you can see and understand, then go check that out. So, oops, not the cart. I'm not buying things. Also, I just want to point out that I do have orgonite pendants and plaques if you want to hold some higher energy near you. The pendants are great because you can wear them all day, every day. They can be protecting you and uplifting you, and that is a beautiful thing. So you can grab those. They're extra, extra cheap, and many of them are even on sale, even though they were already cheap to begin with. So go grab those and keep your space and yourself uplifted. And then, of course, if you have found value in Rogue Ways ever, please consider sharing that value back through Rogue Ways Subscribe Star. I really appreciate all of my people out there. All my Rogue Warriors who are subscribing is really appreciated. You have no idea how much you keep the show going, truly. And I love doing it, and people enjoy it too, and people get a lot out of it. So thank you so much for all of you do. There are different tiers that you can unlock to get various sorts of benefits. And so those are all the ways that you can support me and also just enjoy some awesomeness for yourself. What's up? The Idiocalypse is in the house. Whoop, whoop. I saw you were live streaming today about Donald Trump being the Antichrist or the Savior, and I loved that idea, but I didn't get a chance to check it out. But hopefully people go check that out on the Idiocalypse's live stream, YouTube channel. Super awesome content. So here's, we're coming into the full moon on October 1st, and the mainstream looks at this full moon that we're coming into in October 1st as the Aries full moon. So they're saying there's the full moon in Aries on October 1st. Again, if you are looking at where the sky was 2,000 years ago, there is a full moon in Aries on October 1st. But if you're looking at what's actually behind the full moon on October 1st, it's not Aries, it's Pisces. So the whole world, I mean, our whole world, if you're in the Western Hemisphere here, or then especially the Northwestern Hemisphere, then you are being told that it's a full moon in Aries. And there's all these qualities about any given astrological alignment or correlation, right? So it's a little bit, when we were doing the equinox show, I was saying like, yeah, a lot of people think like things are being hidden from us, but it doesn't really seem like that to me based on the definitions of things and the explanations. And no matter what type of planet or what shape it is, like, it doesn't seem like really anything's being hidden. It just seems like a misunderstanding between what the equinox is and what equilux and equinoct are. But I think I said that right. But this, I'm actually like, no, it just seems kind of shady. Like, why are we pretending like the sky looked 2,000 years old? Why aren't we looking at what it actually is? That seems a lot shadier to me. So this seems, I don't think anybody writing about this, I don't think the site understands or cares. And I don't think the people working with these energies and interpreting this are like doing something bad or wrong. I'm just saying something happened to where we're not looking at what actually is. We're looking at what once was. And I don't know about you, but I like to look at what actually is. So yeah, it's not a full moon in Aries as far as sidereal Vedic astrology is concerned. It's a full moon in Pisces. And it's just so funny too, when you go looking at these things, there's a billion ways to interpret it. It's exactly like tarot. And it's weird that people often put tarot and astrology together. They're very similar in many ways. My tarot deck uses astrology and astrological symbols in many ways in the deck. And so it kind of makes sense, but it's just interesting that you could do it a million ways. And so people, even if you did think and want to go with it being an Aries full moon coming up, which you're welcome to do, you could still interpret what that means in a million different ways. So what does the Aries full moon even mean? And what does the Pisces full moon even mean? I don't know. It's just up to everybody to decide like what is moon energy and what is Aries energy. And when they're combined, like what happens? The moon to me is a very, it's often about our illusion. It's often about the subconscious. It's often about, getting caught up in fancy and imagination. And so a full moon sometimes brings a lot of that like up to the surface. And we think about like what we talk about when we're talking about full moons. We think people go like crazy. Lunacy is based on, the lunar, the moon is full. It makes people go crazy. That's lunacy. So it is a lot of this like heightened emotion. The moon obviously controls water. Water often represents our subconscious and deep emotion. And so the moon is often associated with a lot of those aspects. But there's so much about the moon that is actually very different from all of that. I was actually just reading about the moon in the symbolism book, and I wrote a poem about it. You can find it way back on the site here. It should be the first option if you go there, and it's called Moonchild. And it is everything I'm about to tell you, but in a poem form. But basically, the moon completes the sun's journey, which takes the sun a whole year, but it does that whole thing in only a month. And it's basically, I mean, they're very different bodies, and they're obviously doing different things. But when you just look at like the arc it makes through the sky and the phases it kind of goes through, and like, I don't know, it's just interesting that it kind of is like a mirrored, fractaled down version of the sun. And I never thought of the moon that way until I was reading about that in this symbolism book. And then to think about the moon as drawing life forth, when you think about the moon in relation to a woman's monthly cycle, then the moon is like drawing forth the egg to be released and ovulation to occur, and, you know, which life wouldn't exist if that wasn't happening. So it's very interesting. It's kind of like the idea that you pull it forth from like great depths, right? Because the egg is like hiding in there in the ovary, and it's like not even formed for a while, and then it forms, and then it has to come out, and the moon is like pulling all of that forth. It's a pretty powerful energy that the moon has. And then there's this aspect of death and rebirth, death and rebirth, death and rebirth. The moon is always like coming back up to full, it's in full birth, and then it like goes back down into death, and it's a new moon. So that whole cycle is in the moon's symbolism. I love that it regulates water, and that water is almost like a portal, or, you know, like a definitely like the infinite sink, or the absolute absolution. I'm like cracking myself up with English jokes. But the moon regulates water, and the water is, it's like well, I did a whole episode on water. I can't encapsulate it in a sentence, but if you want to go back and watch Water is Weird, water is fucking weird. And it's cool, too, this idea that the moon can't keep an identity. Even Shakespeare said the moon is this inconstant moon, you know, and it can't keep its identity straight. It has to go from like full to gibbous to half to quarter to new and back again. And it's just never the same one day to the next. It's constantly changing. But that there, if we like apply that to ourselves, there's some suffering in there. There's like a deep emotional suffering in not being able to be connected to an identity. Or at least that's in the reversal, or the sort of like blocked version of moon energy, I think. Because really, in reality, if you like let go of your identity and your attachment to that, things go pretty smoothly. And actually, you get to discover all new aspects of self and being if you just kind of go with that flow. So it's kind of nice. And yeah, I like that idea that it like creates its form and then it dissolves its form. It like comes up into full and then it goes back down into moon, or new. And you can think of it that way with the cycle and the tides as well. They're all like coming up full and then they like go back to nothing. So this idea that this constant flux that we're in, even if we're talking about for a second that sine curve of eons, that golden age to dark age, golden age to dark age, it's like that same sort of movement. And so really it reflects everything in nature. It reflects everything that we are and everything that we do, which is very, very interesting. So all of that to say, you take all that energy and then you try to apply it to a certain sign, like Aries, let's say, which I'm not incredibly, again, expert at Aries, but I think Aries energy is often very like willful and directive and accomplished, you know, challenging and challenged. Rules the head, it says, with extra tension or stress sometimes. But just like a lot of energy, I think, to get shit done. Yeah, it says self-improvement, personal strength. So that would be what we were looking at if we were working with the traditional astrology. But the moon is actually in Pisces on October 1st. And Pisces is such a different energy. It's just so interesting from sign to sign. They're right next to each other. But so different, like so different. So the moon and Pisces seem really well matched. Like they seem really, really, I just conjoined, like they're the same energy almost. So it's interesting that we're gonna have that full moon in Pisces, and they're very similar to me. Maybe I'm totally off. You tell me if you know better. Check in with the chat. Where are we at up here? Top feed Coco, throwing those Pepe memes. Chris says, the earth hasn't moved. The skies revolve around us. It hasn't changed in 2,000 years. The zodiac is fixed. Well, the zodiac still moves. I know what you mean, though. That's very possible. It could be. What's up, Biggie Smollett? Ooh, you just got the copy of the book. Whoop, whoop. Today, what good timing. How auspicious. I'm excited for you to read it. You already had the other one, I believe, but... Frank Sparling asks, what tarot deck do I use? Oh, I use the Handel deck. I will type it. I'm not going to type it, actually, because my keyboard is covered up, but it's Haindl. It's an awesome deck because it incorporates many different traditions around the world, many different religious and spiritual sort of backgrounds and cultures. It has the I Ching in it. It has, it incorporates, like I said, astrology. It incorporates Hebrew letters. It incorporates runes. It's just so much. It's a very unique deck. They do things a little differently in this deck than your traditional deck. So some little aberrations that are different, but for the most part, it's pretty traditional. Still got the 4 suits of the minor arcana and the major arcana. But yes, it's a great deck. And I kind of like to almost caution people because if you've been doing tarot and you got this deck, I think you'd love it. If you've never done tarot and you dive right into this, which is what I did, so it's not like you can't do it, but 20 years ago, whenever that was, but it's a lot. Like, there's a lot, and like I just described all the things that are incorporated into it, there's a lot, and it's a very heavy, symbolic, rich deck, and which is great too, though, right? If you dove right into that and that was your first deck, like, you get trial by fire, right? It's the best class you can take is jumping into the big leagues or whatever. So, ooh, good question, Chris. If the moon causes tides, why don't lakes and ponds have tides? How about the Great Lakes? Yeah, dude, that's a great question. Maybe it's something to do with the crystals and the salt. The Truth Within. What's up, The Truth Within? Nice to see you. It says, I've heard water is not native to Earth. It's Pleiadian or something. That's wild because we are water. We're like 70% water. So maybe water is literally the matrix that created life. Also, the moon is an artificial installation. Yeah, I've heard that too. And maybe it is. I don't personally feel like it. For a long time, I was like, it has to be. The numbers are too perfect. It's like 108. However far to I don't remember the units to use, but like 108 of those to the moon and then 108 moons to the sun. And then the moon is like, just so happens to be perfectly placed so that it can like block out the sun in an eclipse. And then it's also whatever like that to the earth, or it's just like 10 billion things about the moon that should not be true, but are. But more than speaking to me of like a possible alien installation, it just speaks to me of how exactly perfect nature is. But I am never decided on anything. That's just where I stand right now. What's up, Lindsay Smith? And and I think this is the Lindsay Smith. It's the other Lindsay Smith. There's so many Lindsay Smiths in the world. What's up, Jersey Bob? Nice to see you as well. So the moon in Pisces, intuitive, empathic, imaginative. And this is what Athen Clementi was also highlighting. I watched a short video by him about the moon in Pisces, and he was talking exactly about that they're both intuitive, empathetic, and imaginative. And so it's really highlighting this draw that's going to be peaking on October 1st, which is what? A couple days from now. And so, oh, and ignore the dates. They're saying this happened a month ago, but it's happening now, remember? Because we're doing sidereal Vedic astrology. So we can still read the aspects of it without needing them to be on the same date as us. So October 1st, intuitive, empathic. So it's really calling to us to remember those aspects of ourselves, to listen to those aspects of ourselves, and to really honor those aspects of ourselves when we have this full moon energy in Pisces. Again, like I said, it's just like they're maximizing each other's aspects. And so I'm feeling that, like, we're going to really dive deep and ask ourselves if we're connecting with our intuition enough. Are we connecting with our empathy enough? Are we connecting with our emotion enough? And are we using that in the best way possible? Or are we ignoring it and hiding from it and wishing that it didn't exist? And I don't know about you, but I've been very, very called lately to dive deeper into my own intuition and place of like emotional knowing And to just kind of get, it's like that spiritual energy, that runs really deep, and it's not always obvious, and you kind of have to do some work like interpreting it. And like it said, let your instincts guide you. And so those are the positive aspects that I see. I think this is a great time to get deeper into that. And what perfect timing, because if it is getting cooler where you are, like it is where I am, that's what I kind of want to do, is like dive deep internally and sort of like let the outside world go a little bit more. So I think that's nice timing. But it is, of course, there's always like a downside. You don't want to go too far in any one direction. And you don't want to let this be a time where your emotions are overriding you and running you crazy and just draining you, and kind of, that you're relying on your emotional responses rather than your like intellect. It's like you want to trust your instincts, and you want to dive deep and get to the root of your emotions and really like get in touch with your spiritual side, but you don't want to let that be the thing that determines it. You don't want to be like reactionary, basically. You don't want to be reactive. Then you're toxic Pisces, right? Don't do that. I like this too. It's not a new moon though, it's a full moon, but it does say it inspires us to imagine the future we want. I think anytime we're getting in touch with our intuition and our deep emotions and our spiritual side, that we should be thinking of how we're going to go forward and what we're going to create for ourselves, because that's the place of like truly manifesting all of that. When you get in touch with that deepest aspect of yourself, that's where you can really tap into that power and make things happen. Like we said, empathy and compassion are highlighted now. I've been working on compassion a lot lately. I've actually been doing a compassion practice and a forgiveness practice. So maybe you want to pick up something like that in this time of full moon in Pisces over the next week or so. I love this. We don't have to be precise to be helpful. In fact, we don't even have to be right to be helpful. We can kind of, maybe if you're like me, that's my jihad right now, is like trying to let go of whether or not I can let people know what's right or, mostly on Facebook, where I'm like, let's fight with strangers. That's totally a great idea. I would really love to get over that. I mostly do. I fall into it for, it's Facebook, man. I mean, it's me, but it's me on Facebook. So, yeah, we've got maybe some strong fantasizing energy going on here. And that's what I was saying. That type of energy is really good for manifestation. But we don't want to let ourselves get too like pulled away from reality. Of course, as always, like I said, you don't want to get your emotions and your fancy to like totally take control, that you're not even considering reality. But you still want to dive deep into it, because you can learn so much there. So this is what's coming towards us, this full moon in Pisces. And again, we're in the age of Pisces. I like this image that someone drew of a Pisces woman. She's cool. Oh yeah, I just looked at this to get like a better sense of what Pisces is all about. It's of course a water sign. Ooh, a water sign. Which is that emotional watery sign, right? But oh, that's cool. It says it's ruled by Jupiter though, and Jupiter is a thinking planet, an abstract mind. So that's like a nice balance there. And Neptune, which is fluid and illusory. So there's that counterbalance. So Pisces, I'd say, have an ability to have like flights of fancy and get lost in illusion and imagination, perhaps. Oh yes, they're escapists and have a strong desire to escape reality. Anyway, I just wanted to see if there's kind of some things that jump out at us about Pisces, because we're going to talk about Pisces some more, because we're in the age of Pisces. We're in the age of Pisces. Why did I look at Sun in Virgo? You guys are like, why don't you know what you did? I'm like, I don't know. I put this together like 5 hours ago. And now I'm like, huh? I think because the sun is in Virgo. Yeah, the sun is in Virgo right now and the moon is in Pisces. That's why we're looking at this. And again, they think this is happening a while ago, but we're looking at Vedic, and so it's happening right now, or about to happen. So we have this draw to be perfectionist right now. Well, that does not mix well with our full moon and Pisces energy that wants us to dream and go deep and get sort of lost in our spiritual, emotional selves and draw on that deep, deep energy to bring something into life, into birth, just like the moon wants us to do. That's the moon's job. But being a perfectionist about it would be difficult. That's what Virgo is all about. So we're going to want to be perfectionists at the same time as we're like trying to dive into all these very nebulous things that aren't very straightforward. And that's going to be interesting. So we're going to have to let that go, man. We're going to have to, if you're a perfectionist or you are going to have that tendency cropping up in you over the next week, just try to like catch it. Try to be like, yo, calm down, self. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to be. Try to let it go and let that Pisces energy sink in a little bit deeper. It does want us to get our work done perfectly. Maybe we can get our work done and still have that time to get in touch with our spiritual and emotional self and dive deep. Let go of that perfectionism. That's what we're going to want to do, guys. Let's see. Spider Spy is in the house. Hi, can I call in? You can in a bit. Check it out in a few minutes. Truth Within says, yes, manipulators, micro and macro level, have to disconnect you from your intuition, not to be confused with your instincts. Otherwise, you wouldn't put up with control and abuse. Absolutely. That is the name of the game, is disconnection. Oh, where's the A? If you call me Shorty, no, I'll probably hang up on you. I mean, you're welcome to try to call, but it might not go so well. Nedia Nabdi is here. Popeyes. Popeyes what? Ack of Stone is in the house. What's up? I don't know that Virgo you dated represents many other Virgos. That person just sounds like a really sick person. And a sick person can be a sick person in any sign. Eccentric is in the house. How do you know what your moon signs are? Well, first of all, you have to decide which type of astrology you're going to use, and then you have to go get your chart read. Get your chart cast, I mean. So you go, actually, let me just show you because it's pretty rad. This is what I would suggest. You can obviously do whatever you want and go wherever you want, but if you want to check out Athen Commenti, his site is masteringthezodiac.com, which I could have just typed in, but instead I searched. So this is Athen. Like I said, he was on the show a little while ago. He's super insightful and intelligent. I mean, just like, I could maybe be overstating, but I don't think I am when I say he's revolutionized astrology. And anyway, go here to charts, and you can go to chart calculator. So really, you'll just put in your date of birth. Let's say you were born in 1926 in March on the 16th. And we'll say that it was at 6:15 and 32 seconds. So that's information you're going to want, your date, your time of birth. And then you're going to say where you were born. Let's say you were born in Oslo. Oh, it's not going to search. What's happening? Oslo, Norway. So then you just hit generate chart. If you don't know any of those things, you're not going to get your chart. Like, that's just the end of that story. You can get as close as you want, and it might be slightly wrong. Like, if you at least have the day and the location, then I don't know how much the time really matters. I mean, it does. Things will change from second to second, but it's possible that you get the right chart. I just, as close as you can get, the better. What happened? I said generate chart. Well, when I did this, it worked just fine, but it's not working right now for some reason. It says that the image is broken. Well, that sucks. Maybe we'll tell Athen, but it especially sucks that I'm like trying to show people and it's not working because it's worked every other time I've ever come here. So it's just a bug in his site, I'm guessing. But anyway, you'll get a chart and we'll just get an example of a chart. It'll look something like this. and you'll be able to see like which planets are in which sign and which house and all of these different things. It's very intense, honestly. There's a lot of different things you can look at once you have a chart. Oh, this is actually Marilyn Monroe's and Elvis Presley's on the same chart, which so it's way more busy than yours would be, but there's still a lot of information on any of them. And then you can go about looking into what each thing is. So you can actually go to sites like this and be like, what does it mean if the sun is in Virgo? If my sun is in Virgo, what does it mean? And it'll tell you something about it. Again, like I said, you can look at 52 different sites and you're going to find slightly different things. They're pretty similar, but there's just some interpretation that goes along with it. So, but yeah, you can go grab that. If not at Athens, Athens is the only site I know of where you can get a sidereal Vedic birth chart read, cast. And he can also read it for you. But yeah, so I would go that way. You can do any way you want. If you want to go to the traditional astrology, that's what people have been doing. That's what almost every resource you're going to find is going to have. And so, go check it out. See if it jives with you, like whatever. So yeah. Anyway. Where was I? Oh, Serena Delmar says AstroSeek sidereal chart calculator is the best free option. So you can also go check that out instead of Athens site. I really doubt that there's anything they put in a sandwich that kills your third eye forever, but I'm sorry that you feel that way. Yeah, if you don't know what time you're born, it's not that big of a deal, but it'd be better if you did. But if you don't, I'm sure it's very, very similar. So what's up, Vanguard of Truth? Nice to see you. Yeah. The stars are toroids. Well, every single thing in the universe is a toroid. So yes, the stars are toroids. I'm a toroid. You're a toroid. Every single cell is a toroid. Every single atom is a toroid. The earth is a toroid. Everything's a toroid. I totally agree with you. The stars are toroids. Yeah, we're going to look at the Chiron thing. Yeah, now, so to read the chart, I mean, you literally have to go through piece by piece and you have to be like, okay, this symbol means like Jupiter and it's in Gemini or whatever. Like, seriously, you have to go that bit by bit and then you have to look up what that means and then you have to apply it to yourself. Or you have someone like Athen read it for you and you can purchase that from him. He does readings here. And he can do that with you. And again, I think he's an amazing person. He's incredibly intelligent, but he also has a really nice heart. And then Michael Wan was doing readings for a while too. He doesn't do sidereal. He does the old school sort of traditional astrology, but his readings are amazing. But I don't know if he's still doing them. I know for a while he put them on the back burner, but you can go check out Michael Wan too and see if he is. And speaking of Michael Wan, we should have him back. It's been a long time. Maybe we'll do that. Yeah, like Serena says, look up the Vedic interpretations of your placements. So yes, Vanguard of Truth says, do you know anything about ether? Yes, I do. We could do a whole show about that, right? Let me jot down the suggestion. That's a good one. So the sun is going to be conjunct with Chiron. And so this is about it being in your natal chart, but I also wanted to look at this really quick because Chiron, I love Chiron. Chiron is this asteroid that, or I think I'm saying that's not right. I think it's an asteroid that goes through our system. So it's not really, like it's not a planet. And so some people are like, whatever, Chiron, screw Chiron. But it's pretty regular. It's been there for a long time. And so, we can imagine it might have an effect on us. And it's named after Chiron the centaur, who was a healer. And he was a really good healer because he was hurt so bad himself and had to heal himself. And I love that idea. It's so exactly perfect for exactly what everyone should be doing all of the time. You should be, I think, maybe I shouldn't tell you what to do, but I think we should all be healing ourselves so that we can heal everyone else. If you're not healing yourself, if you haven't healed yourself, not only will you not heal anyone else, you will actively fuck other people up, like all the time. So your biggest goal on earth is to heal yourself. And in doing that, you unlock your ability to heal other people, because now you know how, just like Chiron, you learned how by healing yourself. It's a pretty cool metaphor, and I love that energy. And so really, this is going to mean that we're coming up on shining light on all of our wounds and all of the aspects of ourselves that aren't healed. And that is not fun. That makes us question everything. That makes us feel like things might be unjust. We might be mad and angry. Whatever the wound is, it's not healed. So we're going to feel all those things that come up because we haven't healed it yet. But the beautiful thing about that pain is it shows you exactly what you need to heal. So if that energy is coming up towards us soon, this is a perfect time for us to be healing ourselves. And, when we do that, perhaps then we can finally heal each other out in this big, silly world where people are being so insane because they haven't healed themselves either. So maybe we can help that process along if we are able to deal with that pain and dive into it and heal ourselves. That would be great. Let's do it, guys. I forget where Chiron is for me in my chart, but I don't want to play this video because I don't want to get a copyright strike, but I was watching this again. Like I said, Athen Kamenti is a great resource. He has his channel here, Mastering the Zodiac. And I hope I don't misinterpret anything he said, but he was in this video talking about how, like I said at the beginning of the show, we're not in the age of Aquarius. We're actually in the age of Pisces. And that we're going to the age of Aquarius, but it's actually quite a big ways away. So he was talking about how the age of Pisces actually started around 230 or 240 BC. And so it kind of correlates with what we see right after that is this huge rise in religion and religious denomination. Like all the Abrahamic religions got their roots in that time period. I mean, you can argue that everything has its roots back at the beginning of whatever began all time, but you know what I mean. In that time, we saw Jesus, we saw Moses and all these people. We saw all of these things that have now informed most of our world religions were taking place at that time. And so that's pretty Pisces, right? We're diving into the depth of our spiritual being and we're bringing it out into the open. And it's very emotional and it can be chaotic and, but he emphasized how in this age of Pisces that we're in and starting in that time, we really are heading more and more always towards being more heart-centered. And that's really where our spiritual strength resides, right? In our heart. And that's, you can look at it energetically. You can actually look at it like scientifically, you can perceive where the energy is all coming from in the human body. And it's coming from your heart center here. When you had Dr. Thomas Cowan on, also right after Athen, actually. So it's interesting. They both come up in this episode. But he has studied the heart for his whole life. And he has done some amazing work on how the heart is actually a vortex. And so we have a vortex of energy right here. And it's the strongest part of our energetic field. And so this is truly where we are connected to the energy of the entire universe, however you want to describe that. So it's not really religious necessarily. It's much more spiritual. And it's much more being in connection with that spirituality through a heart-centered way of being and a peaceful way of being, and being at peace with yourself and healing yourself in order to have your heart be open so that you can be connected to the divine. And that aligns perfectly with what I have seen humanity doing over these 2,000 years. It's not pretty. It's super messy. People are wildly fucked up. So it's like not, like shit's gone to hell in many ways, but the whole way we've been having these massive explosions in spiritual wellness and heart-centered and peaceful energy that we've been able to bring forth. So it's very Piscean. It makes so much sense to me the way he breaks it down. And then people have asked him, and so I love that he brought this up because it's a great question, why technology has exploded over the past 100 years. And he talks about how it's because, very likely, that the sun has moved into the 11th house since 1910. And so I guess the 11th house is a lot about technological and industrial progress and progression and, sort of like figuring out how to like streamline things in the new and novelty and innovation. And so that makes a lot of sense. So we've had like industrial revolutions, a technological revolution during this time, even though it doesn't feel very Piscean that we're doing that, and it feels much more Aquarian. And so it kind of makes sense to me why there's been this confusion. When he broke that down, I was like, well, no wonder everyone was like, the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Like, it's not the dawning of the age of Aquarius. It's the dawning of the sun in the 11th house. Again, according to this version of astrology, which looks at where things actually are. Remember? So I think it's like pretty cool. So yeah, that's why. That makes sense. But we're 752 years away from the age of Aquarius. 752 years. None of us will be alive, I hope. I hope that we won't be alive. Oh my God, Idiocalypse, are you still live? That's gotta be bullshit. There's no way you're still live. That you've been live for like 8 hours if that's true. I just saw that over here and I just paused. Anyway, 752 years away from the Aquarian age. And again, that's going to be when Aquarius is behind the sun as the sun rises on the vernal equinox. That's 752 years away. So we're still in Pisces for quite a while. So we still have a lot more visionary, spiritual, heart-centered, peaceful energy to manifest on this plane before we get to Aquarius. And I think it's neat that we get this little challenge here with the sun in the 11th house that can like bring us a little bit of that Aquarian flair so we can try and deal with it. Because if you think about it, it really feels like the technological and the spiritual are so out of balance right now, and that is our biggest downfall. So if we can overcome that, then maybe we'll be like really ready for the age of Aquarius. We'll see. But yeah, he says for now, we're still focusing on this receptivity, like receiving that spiritual love in our heart and manifesting that here on earth. And I love that he brought up that Pisces, the symbol of Pisces, is two fish, and they're swimming away from each other, but they're still connected in this singular point before they're fully swam away from each other. And doesn't that feel like right now? Doesn't it feel like we're like left and right and like this or that, this is wrong, this is right, and everybody's like freaking out about it? We're like two fish and we're like swimming away from each other. It seems like we're dividing more and more and more, but we're like still connected at that center. And if we forget that, then we fail. We fail. You can't just decide that half the population or more is wrong and that you're going to force them to be right. That's not how things work. You really have to come at it from a place of love or it's not going to work. It's just true. You can try everything you want that's not love and it's not going to work. I dare you. So the more heart-centered and connected to the spiritual we can be in this time, the better. It just makes sense. It makes absolute sense. And so, one of the things that I do that helps keep me really connected to my heart and to my spirit, and just remembering that that's actually what I am and not this body. One of the things is very, very simple. This is not profound. This is not like a, we're all going to become monks now sort of practice. It's just a really simple practice, and it's just a gratitude practice. And there's a billion different gratitude practices. And maybe you already do one. And maybe you don't, and you look at it and you're like, whatever, I'm like doing like transcendental meditation. I don't need gratitude practice. And I totally get that, but it's bullshit because you do need gratitude practice. You probably, unless you're just grateful all the time and that is your practice as a human, like you got it then. You don't need to like have a practice like this because you're already practicing it all the time. But if you're like me and you forget how lucky you really are sometimes and you get like angry at really stupid shit, gratitude is really important to practice. And I also feel like it manifests powerfully as well. The things that you're grateful for just like flow to you way more easily. So a gratitude journal is a really easy way to practice this. It also makes you happy. You're like sitting there writing all the things that are good in your life, and it makes you happy. You can't not get happy when you're writing all the things that are good in your life. I will be doing this and I'll like start, I don't want to say I'll start laughing, but I'll like giggle because I'll be like, oh yeah, that is cool. And I do have that. Like, how did I forget? Like, I just laugh at myself for being silly and forgetting really. But sometimes people are like, I don't have anything to be grateful for. Like, come on. You're like able to listen to ideas like this and think about practicing it. That alone you can be grateful for, that you have any kind of agency in your life. You can be grateful for that. You can be grateful that you can walk. Like, no joke, my back like makes me want to die sometimes. I'm grateful when I can move. I'm grateful when I can sit for 2 hours and do a show with you. I'm grateful for like the sky when it's not covered in chemtrails. And even when it is covered with chemtrails, I'm grateful for the fact that I can somehow still remain healthy despite the attempts to poison me and my world. There's always something to be grateful for, truly. It's not just a stupid thing that idiots say. It's just true. I like, I don't know. I like that you can always like ask people around you what they see in your life that you have going on. So you can start listing those things, especially if you're having a hard time understanding how blessed you are. And, I like this one down here too, which is express gratitude directly to another. It's silly sometimes, the tiniest things that can happen that can just change someone's day. Like if you just called one of your oldest friends or something, we're just like, you know what? I'm super grateful you're my friend. And especially that one time you did this thing, like, I just love you so much. To imagine their day. They're like, oh, wow. Like that person thought of me and then called me and like told me this thing. Or, whatever, call your fucking roommate, your boss, like whoever it is, just be like, I'm grateful for this thing about you. Now you're not only practicing gratitude for yourself, but you're like directly sharing it with someone else. They're going to feel grateful right back. It's funny too, because the people who we don't want to do this with the most are the people we should probably do it with. It can be super transforming. I love it. So express your gratitude. And if you're doing the gratitude journal, you can also just share your gratitude with that thing. Like I will just like tell my back, like, man, I'm grateful you're feeling good today. Back, like it's a person. And I feel like that also carries energy with it, and it helps maintain a field of back wellness that I can stay in longer. Also, like there's a lot of practices we can do that are spiritual more than, gratitude. I think people think of gratitude journals as like a emotional practice or something, like so that you're not depressed or whatever. And it works for that too. But I think of it as a spiritual practice because I think, again, like we're very disconnected in our society from each other and from ourselves and from nature. And so gratitude is one way to like get really easily reconnected. But I like this intuition, and this came up when we were talking about Pisces, is one of the things that we want to dive further into in this Pisces full moon, in this Piscean age that we're in, and that is to develop our intuition. And so I thought this was neat that there's people who have decided there's ways to develop your intuition, but when I was looking at it, I was like, it's actually pretty true. One way is to meditate. I love people are like, I can't meditate. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but there's 5 billion ways to meditate. So how can you not do any of them? I think what people mean when they say that, I think they mean like, I can't sit quietly and empty my mind of thoughts. And like, well, yeah, I mean, you have to practice for like 40 years to get to that point or something. So of course you can't. Most people can't. Most people who practice a lot at it can't. But you can definitely meditate. One really, really simple meditation that I do sometimes is literally I just go out and sit on the ground. I put my feet on the ground. That's it. I don't have a goal other than just like grounding, just sitting on the grass. I'm quiet and I'm alone. I'm not like looking at my phone or listening to music or reading a book or whatever. I'm just like sitting there. That's a meditation for me. There's even like walking meditations. I go on walks by myself also, and I try not to always listen to something. Like you could be listening to a podcast like Rogue Ways, and that's awesome. But you can also take walks sometimes where you don't listen to anything at all, because that's the time, like this points out, where your intuition is going to send you messages. If you never give yourself time to be quiet and peaceful, you're not going to be able to get any messages at all. And so it's nice to just find ways that you can meditate. One of the people who I work with in the guidance sessions that I do, we are practicing, this person just sits with their dog. And they just do it for 15 minutes a day. And the whole goal of it is to not be distracted. Just be there with your dog. Just let whatever emotions or thoughts come up. Don't judge yourself for them. Don't do anything with them. Just sit there and just be you. And be quiet. And being with the animal can be really helpful because it can help you feel like you're not. People get really self-conscious sometimes, They're like, why am I just sitting here quietly? This is really weird. And it feels that way sometimes. But when you're with an animal, sometimes that can help. Like, oh, I'm doing something. I'm sitting with the dog. So if you want to try that I think it works really well. And then you can add like stages to it once you get like really like, okay, so now I sit quietly with my dog every day, but what do I do there? Like there's other steps too. But things like this are why I say like everyone can meditate. You just might not be able to do really specific meditations. So leave those ones behind. I like this, the noticing what you can with your senses. Really smart to get you started to getting back in your body. Most of us are like pretty disassociated and detached from our body. Most of the time, a lot of us don't even know what we're feeling at any given time. So I'd add six senses, because the 5 conventional senses and then also your emotions are gonna follow when you do this stuff. You're gonna feel things. Unless you've done this work before and you've processed a lot of emotions, like maybe not as much, but especially if you never have, you're going to sit down and get quiet and then you're going to want to cry. Or you're going to sit down and get quiet and you're going to be like fucking angry. Like shit's going to come up and it's rad. Like that's when you can follow that back to the path where it started and be like, holy shit, I've been angry since then. Like, wow, how am I going to like let this go, process it? Maybe you need to go work on it with someone else, whatever. But just let it happen. That's what you need to do that. You have to let that stuff go. So yeah, notice your senses is a really good way to get you back to the here and the now, right? You're like, I hear a car honking. I see the sky is blue. I smell the earth is damp. You know, I can feel with my fingers when I touch the ground that it's wet. Whatever it is. And you start noticing your senses and you're really just bringing yourself back into your body. I love that Phoenix Aurelius talks about... and he has a lot of practices as well, which I should show you because you can get them for free. But he talks about bringing yourself back into your head. Like we're always busy putting our attention out on other things, but you can literally bring it back and be like, oh, I'm right here, right now. And I love that. It's so simple and it's so difficult because most of us are so conditioned to be distracted and to give our attention away that we have a really hard time being right here, right now. But this is a great set of tools if you've already gotten this because you saw Phoenix on Rogueways. Awesome. But go to phoenixaurelius.org. Actually, I'm going to wait. Just shop around. And if you do, go use the product code Going Rogue and you get 15% off everything in the apothecary and the featured products and workshops and anything. It doesn't even matter how big or how small. You get 15% off when you use the coupon code Going Rogue. And if you use the link below this video, I also get a little tiny percentage, which is very nice for me. So please use that link if you're ever going to purchase things from Phoenix in the future or now. But everyone can go right now to the media tab here and go down to tools and resources. And you can purchase this energy tools for self-healing, but you can get it for free if you use the coupon code Rogue Ways, no spaces. So grab that. It's like, I think it's like, if I remember right, it's like 18 or something, just short little practices. And they're like guided meditations. This is a fantastic way to do it, especially if you're one of those people who's like, I can't meditate or I don't know how to meditate. Fantastic tool. So grab it. It's free. It's free for you because you're listening to this. So awesome for you. There's one way you can get in touch with your intuition for sure. So grab that and do it. And like I said, if you're going to purchase anything else, since this is free, maybe you want to grab something else and use the Going Rogue, get 15% off. It's like such a good deal for you guys. I like this one. Pay attention to your dreams. Oh, I was going to give you guys this link in the description there. But like I said, I'd rather have you click on the affiliate link below this video and then go there. But anyway, another way to increase your intuition, pay attention to your dreams. And I can't emphasize this enough because dreams absolutely, in my experience, are things that are actually happening. Whether you're considering it as like something's happening in my psyche and I'm learning about where my like fears and stresses and joys and whatever are, or you think like I'm actually traveling somewhere astrally and doing these things with these other beings or whatever, both are equally as true. Both are true at different times. Both are true sometimes at the same time. But you can't unlock any of the messages there if you're not paying attention to them. And a lot of people say they don't dream. And I know that it might seem that way, but a lot of people, I think, have blocked out their dreams, and a lot of people aren't remembering their dreams. And so I think that you can definitely, no matter where you're at, get to the point where you're remembering them. And then you can get to the point where you are interpreting them, so to speak, or you're just listening to them and seeing what sort of wisdom they can bring you. For me, I definitely helps if I every single morning wake up and write down my dreams. That helps me remember them. It helps me as I'm writing. I'll remember way more details. Sometimes throughout the day, I'll remember one I didn't remember and I'll go at it, which you can do too. But it's just a nice way to get your brain in the habit and the pattern of remembering dreams. It really does work. You'll remember more and more when you do it. So you can do that and then remember more and more. And if you don't dream, I'd say stop drinking caffeine, stop drinking alcohol, stop smoking weed. Some people actually need weed for dreams, which is weird. It's backwards for me. But for me, if I smoke weed, I don't have dreams. Or you're just using THC at all. But like I said, lots of people still dream. But if you're not dreaming, you want to figure out why. Lots of those things can be blockages for dreams. And so you can, basically increase your well-being and health and get your dreams back sometimes when you cut some of those things out. Easier said than done, I know, but you can do it. Definitely you can do it. We can all do it. I love this one about getting creative. Definitely when you let yourself sink into a creative project, especially if you're not going to be super Virgo about it and be like perfectionist about it, but you're just letting yourself like explore playfully with a creative medium. A lot of times that's like a meditation. People get into like a flow state and you're just sort of like in the zone. And that's when you can get a lot of, again, your emotions might come up, whatever. You can get a lot of information and insight during those times. So it just kind of, like it says, quiets the cognitive mind sometimes. And again, if you're like perfectionist about it or you're like, whatever, don't do it. But it can be a good method for people who believe it'll work. Definitely using tarot is going to get you in touch with your intuition. If you are, able to flow with that method, then that's right. But there's a ton of different things besides tarot that can also access that area of your sort of mind and being where you are, getting more and more in touch with interpreting intuitive things. This is the one that I teach people, which is, they call it the body compass. I call it bodily knowing. People have all kinds of ways of doing this. People do muscle testing and different things. I just do my body compass. I trained myself years ago. Shaman taught me how to train myself to, again, you have to be already at the point where you are feeling your emotions and you're in touch with your body and you're able to be present in your body and in your emotional, spiritual, mental, like your whole being has to be like pretty present. And again, that doesn't mean that you're not in a space of like like no thoughts at all and you're like blank, not like that, but just that you're here now and that nothing's distracting you. And if you're there now, you can start to train yourself about where you physically feel, let's just say emotion. Intuition is the same, basically. But where you feel certain things. So you can start saying like the truest and the most false things that you can say out loud, and you can feel where you physically feel that in your body. And that is your body compass. For me, it's bodily knowing. And so you can train yourself, like I said, like here's where I feel and here's how I feel when something is good, true, and beautiful. Here's where and how I feel when something is lies and evil and wrong. And you can start to understand that, and you'll notice your body's always doing that. And it always has been doing that. And when you've had those times where you were like, holy shit, I feel like something's wrong, like something's really going on somewhere, like you're actually using that sense. One of the senses I'm sure that you're using when you have feelings like that, or when you meet someone for the first time and you're like, I do not like that person. You're using that sense. Again, whether you know it or not, there's somewhere in you that recognizes those signals. So you can train yourself to get way more in touch with those and way more nuanced with those and get really deep into your own intuition and learn how to trust that. And it can tell you anything you want. You actually already know everything that ever needed to be known. There's places, there's ways to have blockages in it, and there's a lot of nuance to it, but that's the basics of it, and it's a really excellent thing to start to teach yourself. This is true also, again, in depression or in learning to get in touch with your intuition, and it's funny how connected those two things are. When you're depressed, you're definitely not in touch with your intuition, or you're disconnected. That's what depression is. So this idea of escaping your daily routine or just experiencing something novel. If there's something you've never done before, it doesn't have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to be like, I'm going to Zimbabwe. It can be like, I'm going to put on a pink pair of pants. I've never worn pink pants. And that literally can be enough to like snap you out of depression and or get you closer in touch with your intuition. It's really fascinating. This is a science behind it. Like they've studied it and it's true. So doing something new now and then is really good for you. Either way, no matter what you're trying to do. I'm always the spend time in nature biggest proponent. This is like the therapy that I assign to everyone I work with. Till people get like sick of it, but it's just, you cannot understate how powerful that connection is. If you are out in nature, especially by yourself without technology or distractions, holy shit, get ready. But the rest, I think, get a little bit, who knows, if they're helpful or not. But this repetitive movement thing is, the Sufis do it, just like spin in circles until they reach an enlightened state. So you can do that, something like that. Definitely can help. Yeah, and like I said, the rest of it is just kind of like whatever. There's a bunch of stuff. So these are all just ways, if we're in this Piscean age, we're in this Pisces full moon, like these are ways that we can really take advantage of that energy and really get in touch deeper with ourselves and, what we're doing here. Like, what are you doing here? You're alive. Why? What are you doing? Figure it out. I mean, it's not like figure it out. It's really like feel it out and follow that. But do it. Stop making us all wait for you to become Chiron the Wounded Healer. What are you guys talking about in the chat? Oh, wow. You're so talkative. I don't know if I'm going to get to everybody's, but yeah, Bill Gates, dude, some shit's happening for the end of the year for sure. There we go. The truth within is on my same jam. This is how I'm interpreting the next 3 months as well. And it's starting with this Pisces full moon energy that I've been talking about this whole episode, but it's going into some other stuff that we're going to talk about. And truth within says this 3-month period of September 21st equinox until the December 21st solstice is an intense manifestation period with high energies. Whatever we focus on, we will get more of. It's so important. This is why I'm focusing so much on really encouraging everyone listening, participating in this episode to go deeper than you already are as much as you can. I'm doing it. I've challenged myself. I've adopted 3 new practices. I've been doing spiritual practices and work for quite a long time. And I've just adopted 3 new practices. I'm not saying that to brag, or I'm saying I'm not just saying this shit to you and then sitting back and drinking, tea or whatever. I'm doing the work as well. So I'm here with you. And I really, really hope we all take it seriously and we all go as deep as we can, because I think that that's exactly how we manifest the best possible outcome of all of these energies that are at work right now. A lot of them are trying to take us into dark places. Let's not let them. Let's go where we want to go instead. Yeah, while you're walking on a trail and people are plugged into their headphones, it's I'm not going to judge. I do often want to listen to a podcast when I'm walking or whatever, but I just try a lot of times to also go unplugged because I want to have some time where I'm just able to receive and really be, present. And you're definitely not when you're plugged into that. Dude, I've had people... What's up, Independent? Nice to see you here. I've had people... I was in Bryce Canyon on the coolest hike, one of the coolest hikes I've ever been on, deep out in the distance of the canyon. I mean, seriously, it was a 10-mile hike or something. We're way out there. I guess that's not that far for some people, but for me it's a big hike, and especially in the desert. And so we're way out there, and this girl just walks up with this giant boombox that's blaring music out loud. And I was so disappointed and annoyed. I was you came all the way out here so that you could blast music at the silence. Whew. Sorry. I feel bad for you, son. Yeah, you really can't. Good way to put it. You can't connect with nature unless you listen to the song of nature. There's this other time where I was with these people, and we were out by a river. I was listening to the river and looking at the moon, and it was a gorgeous night, and I'm just chilling by this river, and this girl's we need music. And I was yeah, we have the music of the river. And she's no, I need music. I need to find a phone and play music. I was please don't. The river is awesome and amazing and beautiful, and all the night creatures are singing, and why would you want to ruin that? But It was a little battle, but I just like I don't get it, man. You can listen to music all day, every day, but you can only be in nature sometimes. Curious Life, what's up? I don't know if I already said hi to you, but I meant to. Nice to see you. Vanguard of Truth says, one thing I'm upset about is I'm 27 and I feel like I'm just starting my journey to wisdom. I can't believe I'm already 27. I was just 19 the other day. Dude, and then tomorrow you're going to be 38 like me. So here it comes. And then the day after that, you're going to be like 52. So it happens really fast. It happens faster and faster every year. And I'm totally with you. But I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like you did just start your journey to wisdom. I feel like you've been on it all along. I think all of us have been. That's what we're doing here. And like, even if you look back at the times where I was like, cause I did this too, I was like, dude, why did I smoke meth for years? Like that was a really big waste of time, obviously. But I look back on it and I'm like, I learned a shitload. When I look back at that and I actually see what fucking happened and how it happened, I'm like, holy shit. Like the spiritual implications of various aspects of it. And like the way that life works, like just so much to get from that, and so much healing, pointed the direction to where my scars are that I have to heal and things like that. So it's really true that none of it's wasted. Everything actually does happen for a reason in my experience. But Saturn is a great teacher. Saturn is a great teacher because Saturn asks us to be extra ready and prepared. We've got all the nuts and bolts in place and we've tightened everything we can and we've built all the things we need. And then the test comes. And if we did it right, like, whew, we're going to do hella good. And if we didn't, it's just like a tower moment. Just like shakes apart what didn't hold. And then we're like, okay, well, at least I know now what to rebuild. It's not so bad. Oh no. Don't be sad. Don't be scared of dying. I mean, I can't just tell you to not be scared of dying, but seriously, go back and listen to the Rogueways episode, You're Not Dead Yet. Or I'm Not Dead Yet. I think it's You're Not Dead Yet. Either way, it's a great episode, and that's the whole entire episode is just about the fear of death. Go listen to it. You don't have to be afraid of death. I know it happens sometimes, and you look at it, see where it's coming from, see what you can heal, and then tell it to get the fuck out. Vanguard of Truth says, my biggest issue is my tug and pull with Christianity. What's up, Allison Briscoe? Nice to see you. What's wrong with the tug and pull with Christianity? There's beautiful gems in Christianity. You don't have to be like up Christianity's butt to get the gems. But there's nothing wrong with feeling that pull towards something beautiful. Yeah, if we learn the basics of astrology, I mean, if we learn the basics of even just our body system, like the fact that we have a mind, a body, a soul, I don't know. It would be cool. It would be cool if we learned about the different aspects of our being and anything about spirituality at all. And just like the fundamental aspects of nature, how things grow and then die and then are reborn. All that stuff. It'd be so cool. It's all the stuff that's the most obvious. It's all the stuff we used to be allegedly the most attached to and the most like enmeshed within. And now we're just so disconnected. And like we said in many episodes and earlier in this episode, like that is actually the point, is to disconnect us from it. And that's why we have to work to get reconnected to it, because we have been so severed by so many generations of brutality. So we're healing that. We're the wounded healers. We're Chiron. Yes, like Truth Within says, you don't need an allegiance to Christianity to have a love for Jesus as a wisdom teacher and a helper. Or more. You can be like, he is the Son of God and he was here to save us, and amen. Like, it does not matter. You still don't have to like feel bad about that, or like, that's great. Jesus is a badass. I love it. What's up, Nachiketa? Nice to see you back again. You should go see Nachiketa's episode on Rogueways. Was also awesome. So many good episodes have come up on this episode. There's so many good ones to check out. Sue Finelli's in the house. Sorry if I missed you earlier, Sue. Nice to see you. All right, I'm going to open the call lines real soon. Especially with you, Serena, because you are very knowledgeable about this stuff, so you can school us. I mean, you can just share your ideas, but you don't have to feel like you're schooling us. Yeah, death is just a stopping. It's like a way station. We've all done it a million times. We're going to do it again. It's going to be fine. I'm not saying I'm going to like face it with the utmost dignity. I hope so. I'm just saying like I understand that I've done this before. I'm not worried about it. Oh, the fear of hell from Christianity. Yeah, I totally get it. I've never actually been, even when I was in Christianity and sort of indoctrinated, I was never afraid of hell because I just knew in my heart. I was like, that's bullshit. Like God would never do that. Like that is not how shit goes. But I've also understood a more nuanced approach in my older age where I'm like, well, there is hell. We do go to hell for our sins, but it's like right here, right now. Like if I'm disconnected, sin means to be without, like outside of something, right? So if I'm outside of something, I'm disconnected from source in that moment, I'm sinning. That is hell. I'm disconnected from God. That's hell. I'm disconnected from myself. That's hell. Like, and that's how we get all the shitty things in our lives happen. When I was smoking crystal meth, like I was in hell because I was disconnected from myself, from the earth, from God, from love at all. Yeah, that's hell. So hell exists. But are you going to go to hell when you die because you did something like bad? Like, no. You could feel that just like we were talking about. And your body knows, your mind and your heart and your soul all know that that's not true. You know that. So that might be your meditation that you want to do, Vanguard of Truth, is to go sit on the ground, feet on the ground, hands on the ground, whatever you can do. And just like ask yourself, like, is there really a hell like that? Your body will be like, no. And your mind will be like, no. And your soul will be like, hell no. And you'll just know. And the more you can get in touch with that knowing, the better, the more that fear will have no power over you. So yeah, what's up? So I also just wanted to go through really quick before we get to the calls this another video that Athen had. Again, I'm not going to go through it because I don't want to get a copyright strike, but I'll just tell you about some of the things he talks about. And basically that there's a Saturn and Pluto conjunction and that this is going to be a restructuring of our perceptions and our economies. Now, this has already happened. God, I'm just going to let Serena call because she can tell us. But he talks about how this has been affecting our relationships abroad and basically coming up on the solstice or on the 14th, I think, is when this total solar eclipse is, and the alignment. Okay, and then the solstice. So, God, there's so much shit happening. But this whole time period where we've been really restructuring our collective perception, mostly with, you know, the beer cold, and how it's affected the world and travel and our economies and just our awareness of each other and borders. All those things have been affected, and that's all going to come to some kind of a head soon. In that time period towards the end of the year where we have that solar eclipse and the solstice and all these alignments. And so he was talking about being especially flexible in our finances. That has been coming up in every tarot reading I've done. If you've been paying attention for the past like 3 years, every time the finance card has something to do with being like really flexible, the way that it's really been coming about is like be really rooted. Like your money, as far as like cash coming in and out, might be radically different. So you want to make sure that you've got your like basics met. Like you have food, you have water, purification, as much as you can. That was the energy that I was getting. And he is describing it as being flexible in your finances. And I think they're kind of the same message. So I just thought that was interesting how they correlated. And healing that, you know, Chiron is going to come up and be important here coming up. And so like we were talking about, really healing your wounds and being able to bring that healing back then to everyone else is going to be emphasized and really important. And yeah, we were talking about retrograde Mars in Pisces and how that's not actually that bad. And we just want to be able to get peace and go with the flow and trust the process and release that control, because Mars is going to ask us to have a lot of control, but we want to just like flow with that fiery water stream and not fight too much about it. But in December, during that solar eclipse, something new is definitely emerging. He feels like it's going to be in the area of medicine, but that it won't be something that lasts very long because that Ophiuchus transit is really quick, I believe. And that this new paradigm is going to come into play. And that has to do with all of those alignments that are happening, again, right there with the like solar eclipse and the solstice. And that Saturn and Jupiter conjunction is also happening. And that's going to set the tone for 20 years. And so a lot of people are looking at this and they're saying this is the new world order. Like it's going to happen then and it's going to be in power for 20 years. I don't know. Maybe. I'm going to choose to use this again. The emphasis of the whole show is that Piscean energy. We're in the age of Pisces. We've got this full moon in Pisces coming up here. And so if we're going to start now diving deep and getting as like connected as we can and being like the master manifestors we know we can be, I'm going to aim to make that whole energetic shift be way, way better, right? Saturn's going to come and ask us what we built. And we're going to show him, oh, we built this like amazingly loving, interconnected network of light. And he'll be like, word, then you get to have that, right? That's where I'm going with this. So yeah. Yeah, and there's some other stuff, but we'll leave it at that. So if you want to call in now, call in now. And let's see, can I do it like this? Oh, look. There's a picture of my fork. Oh, that's not going to work. Never mind, sorry. I forget this is screen capture. Oh, come on. Anyway, let me turn on my phone. If you want to call right now, it's 74033-ROGUE. And do not disturb is off. If you remember, the phone is kind of weird sometimes. So even once you call, there may be like a gap. You may have to call like twice. It might not actually ring. There's just a lot. It's a free phone number through Google. So I'm grateful for it. It just doesn't always do perfectly. Serena's like, yeah, nope, I'm gone. Just kidding. Anybody can call in. I was just saying Serena because Serena wanted to call in. She mentioned wanting to call in. So yeah. Oh yeah, the Great Reset. That is what they're planning. And they do want to unveil it right at these astrological times. That doesn't mean they get to win though. I did do an episode on the Great Reset a little while ago as well. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting, the energies and the symbolism that they're putting into all of that. And oh, someone's calling. It's doing this thing again. It's so annoying. I can hear the call, but it won't show me how to answer it. Why? Oh. So whoever that was, try again. I don't know why it does this. It'll like say that it's ringing, but it won't have any way for me to answer the phone. It's really, really obnoxious. Okay. Now it's doing it again. Okay, you hang up. I'm going to call you back because I see your phone number. It's going to show me as anonymous, so I don't know why this stupid app can't just work. It's like so dumb. I think I'm calling you now. Am I calling you? I'm calling you now. Yeah, dude, it tells me that I've missed the call like 3 times, and probably you can all hear it ringing, but dude, it's gonna drive me insane. All right, I'm gonna close it, and then I'm gonna come back to it. I'm gonna see if restarting it works. Oops. Remember when it worked really well, like the first few times, and then it just stopped? Yeah, I missed 3 calls. Here, I'll call you again. You guys are like, nice show. Shut up. Now it's telling me I cannot make calls. And now it's saying, yeah, allow. Jesus. Hello. Oh my god, it's ringing.
Yo.
Yo.
Is this Rogue Wiz?
What's up? Who's this?
Dude, this is, my name's Mary, but I'm in your chat as Serena Del Mar.
Serena Del Mar. It's in the house. What's up, Mary? It's nice to talk to you.
Yo,
How are you
going,
doing?
Dude? Love your show.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm great. I'm glad. It's a cool group of people you have assembled here. I'm enjoying it.
Very lucky. I'm very lucky to have you all here. So it's very cool. We tend to attract some really good-hearted, higher-minded sort of people. And lately, I think some of my old students have found this show and they showed up in the chats. But I'm like, word, call in, let's chat, because my students are pretty rad.
Oh,
but
dude, were you a teacher?
Yeah, I taught for 14 years, and then I quit last year.
Dude, I was also a teacher, but just for preschool age kids, and I also did after school counseling at the YMCA. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. So you know. It's like the best work in the world, and then it's also the most stressful work in the world.
Yeah, man. I mean, minimum wage, supervising 40 kids at a time, doing my best work I could, but definitely a total respect for teachers all day long.
Thank you. Yes. Respect right back at you. So what did you want to comment on tonight?
I was calling about just since we're talking about astrology, I just had some info I thought might help some people out there.
Yes, please, because you are very knowledgeable.
I mean, awesome. It's like a study that you could spend your whole life studying and not totally understand every facet of it, but
I feel it.
I've been into it for sure. I've been in, I don't think I'm at the end all be all of anything. I'm learning. I learn every day. I try and spend a little bit of time learning every day. So I've been doing it for 7 years. I don't I'll do charts for friends and stuff, but I don't have a business about it or anything like that. It's mostly a personal study.
But mine's a personal study, and I just try to glean what I can here and there, and but you actually do this as a service you provide to people. So even if you don't consider it professional, you're definitely very knowledgeable.
Yeah, I try and help people. I feel like it's kind of for some reason been hidden in the knowledge has been kept away, and I think it's an odd thing. I know it's a whole debate in the astrology community with the Western versus Vedic and sidereal interpretation, but for me, I only do the sidereal because the apparent motion, what you see, what else are you I'm not trying to factor in a 23-degree shifts there. I think that there's info there, and it's so convoluted because people have been gathering info I talked to 100 people, and people with their sun in this placement have these sort of personality types, but you can shift that 23 degrees. And if people don't understand that's based on the axis of the Earth and the apparent motion. And for some reason, Western astrology has decided to, shift things a little bit and make things kind of dumbed down newspaper horoscope style. But
well, and I think about the time. So when the age of Pisces started, if that's when our sort of deeper spiritual, emotional urges and blossoming was starting, that would also be when a parasite force or whatever you want to call blockages would come in and be disconnect, and so they would throw that. They'd be like, no, this is totally how you do astrology. It's like this, and then here's how you do time, and they would try intentionally to mislead us all because sort of to dissuade that movement.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of if you look into the history of calendars in different cultures, there's different interpretations on even what year it is. If you ask some, a Kabbalistic scholar versus a Vedic person versus, the Vatican, you're going to get Gregorian calendars that sort of differences there. But
yeah,
for me, what my intuition has told me is to go with the sidereal Vedic stuff. So that's kind of what my jam has been.
Yeah.
Like I started out Western for sure, but then I like kind of switched, and that's kind of like hard to translate in your head once you like learn a certain system, and people get an
Ooh.
ego about it, and then
Yeah.
they choose sides or whatever. But yeah, the thing I wanted to mention here mostly is, have you heard of nakshatras in the
No.
Vedic system?
No.
Okay, so a nakshatra,
It sounds
spelled
really
N-A,
familiar, actually, but I don't know why. I'm like having deja vu, I
dude,
think.
so it's like you have a division of the 360 degree zodiac by 12 signs, right? But then within that, there's differentiations between certain areas of the sky. So a nakshatra is the 27 lunar mansion division of the zodiac. So it's
Wow.
divided by 27. So like if you say I'm an Aries rising, you could be an Ashwani or a Bharani uh, nakshatra. So like they're
Oh.
yeah. So it's just like a tighter division there. So like
So is
within
that when people, because I always say Vedic sidereal, but am I actually saying it wrong? And sidereal is the what's actually happening in the sky right now, and then adding the Vedic would be adding what you're talking about, even further divisions and nuance, maybe? Because it sounds,
yeah. So
yeah,
like yeah, sidereal is just the term for the actual like apparent motion, but Vedic would refer to the Vedas, right? So the
right.
Indian Hindu tradition. But once you get into the 27 divisions, then you kind of get a little bit tighter there. And like even in Vedic, they have what they call like a D9 or a D10. The stands for divisional. So you're dividing 360 by that, and then you kind of are able to, like a D10 will tell you like a lot about your career stuff or whatever. Um, D9 is called Navamsha, and I'm totally not an expert if I'm sounding like trying to sound like I'm not at all. But
No,
so I just wanted to,
you're good.
yeah, I just thought, yeah. So like if people look up their nakshatras, that's a lot more informative and specific to you. And then within the
Cool.
nakshatras, they divide it into this, yeah, they divide it into this thing called padas, P-A-D-A. And so that there are four padas for every nakshatra, and there's a different like little like a different planet will rule a certain segment of that nakshatra. It's just a tighter
Wow.
division.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, all this information is available. Like the best, I've said it in your chat, but like AstroSeek, SEEK, is the best free website for all this. And you can type in AstroSeek sidereal calculator, and then once it gives you your chart, you're able to click on um, fixed stars and also nakshatras, and it will tell you your nakshatra. And for people who are just getting into it, you want to look up your nakshatra, and then you can even like, so someone on YouTube I recommend is called KRS. It's this dude, Camille. He just like dishes knowledge. He's like a knowledge fountain, man. He's
Is it
amazing.
is
So
it KRS as in KRS-One, or is it like totally unrelated to
yeah,
KRS-One?
I don't know what KRS-One is. He's
Okay.
just a dude whose name is yeah. He just, his YouTube thing is called KRS Astrology, and if you want to do your chart, so like I would recommend anyone do your chart and start like, so nakshatras are lunar mansions. So the moon is more important and significant in this calculation. So you want to look up your moon nakshatra first.
Okay.
Because I feel like I'm just like saying stuff,
No, it's awesome.
but
It's rad because I've never heard of any
yeah,
of this, and I don't. I think Nachiketa has in our chat, but I don't know if anyone else has.
yeah. I haven't been. I'm not looking at the chat since I've been on my phone, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So you want to start there and like, so like your rising sign, your sun sign, and your moon sign would be the three places you want to start with. And you look up those nakshatras, and you can look up like whatever your nakshatra is, rising for your ascendant, and then like KRS will give you a little video about it. And then he also does like hour long, like he talks to this guy named Dr. Arjun Pai, who's like this amazing Vedic astrologer who just is constant knowledge. And for me, like, so it's significant because it's thousands of years of like a database of like just studying people. Um,
Wow. Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know. That's like I don't talk to a lot of people about astrology. It's kind of just a thing I have in my head, and like it's like a personal practice. But I just wanted to help people because I feel like you can get lost in the sauce a little bit,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's so sad to me to see people like if they're interested in it and they get misguided a little bit by Western. And I know it's a huge debate in the community,
Yeah.
uh, but I would really recommend people start there
Yeah.
because for me it's been very enlightening. And like you can look up your North Node nakshatra, your whatever, and then every nakshatra has a ruling planet, so you have to look up the position of that, and like it gets a little complicated, and you can spend your whole life studying it. But
For real.
um,
Cause yeah, it's like
those are just some.
just knowing the signs is one thing, right? And then you're like know every single planet and what it means too. And then there's the houses, and now there's nakshatras, and like, and then there's all the different like methodologies of even deciding which ones are in which place. Anyway, if you're gonna do sidereal or Western, it's definitely a murky playground to play in. But yeah, don't undersell yourself. You clearly understand a lot and know a lot and have a lot to offer people. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, if anyone wants to talk to me, I could totally help them out and put them in the right direction. It's kind of like more my thing is to like just sort of route people to resources I know rather than doing the like I don't feel super confident, like I don't have any, illusions that I know everything because I know
Totally.
I would love to, I'm still looking for that guru out there, but
Yeah. You got to be careful of
I
them
don't
too.
know.
There's like the people who are
Yeah.
talking the loudest and the most emotionally are gathering the most people towards them. And then they're like very fixed in that and they get stagnant and they're not like, I just feel like, exactly what you just said. You're not pretending like you know everything. I'm not pretending. I think we attract people to the show that don't want to pretend like we know everything. Even as like, and I think it's like you're saying, you're like, I have all this knowledge or whatever, but I'm still not professional. You could study this for your whole life. And I think every single thing is like that. Like we could say that about anything. And when people treat me like I'm a tarot expert, I'm like, oh no, I'm not a tarot expert. I'm just really good at doing readings. And they're like, well, isn't that the same thing? And I'm like, no, like I could study this for another like 70 years and still not be an expert at it. But I think that's just a mark of an intelligent person is that we acknowledge that we don't know everything and that there's always more to know.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's what I look for. Like I really admire that in people when they're willing to say I don't know, and like I kind of get turned off by people who claim to have the end all be all knowledge of anything. Like you can spend your whole life like that's lost in the sauce, lost in the illusion to claim that you like know everything. But
Yeah.
for me, my intuition says that this system is like more accurate and more helpful than anything else I've ever encountered. So like just it's Astro Seek, and that's for me the best. Like I've used that Athens guy's website before, but it's difficult because I live in a small town, so it's not in his Atlas database. So you have to like
Yeah.
figure out your
Okay.
latitude, longitude, and all that, and like manually enter your latitude, longitude. So, but if you do Astro Seek Sidereal Calculator, that will get you the same stuff.
Awesome. I'm going to put that link in the chat right now for everybody who wants to go check out AstroSeek and get your I'm gonna do it right after this.
Yeah.
This is the thing, because I started with Western. I had my chart. I knew not everything, but I knew a lot of stuff. I had done some work with it or whatever. And then I learned about sidereal, and I was like, huh, what? And I went and got that chart, and then I've learned everything about that. And again, I know how to memorize, but I looked at it and whatever. And now I want to go do this. So the journey is never ending.
Never ending, and there's no question that like if you want to go spiritual route that the people in charge have like access to this knowledge and like it's kept secret for some reason.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
which whatever, we don't need to worry about all that.
Right.
But like on a personal level, that will help you out. It's like to be able to get to sort of like dive deeper, and like the KRS guy on YouTube, if you're like into learning by videos, he helped me a lot too.
I love that. Yes, that's perfect. KRS. So I've got those, and maybe we can get him on the show. And somebody mentioned Robin Moonshadow with gnomes, which is totally unrelated. But now I want to interview Robin Moonshadow and do a show on
That's
Ether.
quite a name.
And yeah, but keep the suggestions coming, everybody, because it's awesome. I really like to be able to get new ideas and go down new rabbit holes. I guess. I mean, not even necessarily conspiratorial ones, but just like this, like you've shared about the nakshatras, and it's awesome. So thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Yeah, for sure. Just trying to help out. I hope everybody wish everybody well. There's somebody in the chat who's like struggling, with their Saturn return and all that, and like Saturn in Jupiter, that's what we got coming up in December, right? That's the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. So
Yeah.
you want to go deep on that a little bit.
Cool. And do you have a place where people can contact you if they do want to elicit your services?
Yeah, I don't know. YouTube's not great. I feel like YouTube makes it really hard to connect with people. Like, you can't even click on their channel.
Yeah.
That's so annoying.
Very.
I can give out my email if you want.
If you want
Mary
to.
Luff. No, yeah, of course.
Cool.
I'm maryluff@gmail.com. So it's IMMaryLuff@gmail.com.
Wait, what was the last part after Mary?
I am Mary Luff.
Luff.
Yeah, Luff. That's my name, Mary Luff.
Okay.
Whatever. I don't care about doxing myself. I'm free and open. Let's do it.
I know. People can come and get it if they want it. That's awesome. Cool.
Perfect.
So I put that in the chat for people as well if they want to email you and connect. Thank you for the offer. That's so nice.
Yeah, of course. I'm down to help anybody out. I know it's like we're dealing with some intense energy, planetary-wise, right now. So,
Yeah. And what do you think about the whole idea of whether or not we could, obviously they want to use it for their whatever new paradigm that they want to bring in. But what do you think about the possibility of us hijacking that, especially with this fertile seeming time right before that where we can be like manifesting and getting in really deep touch? Do you think it's possible?
I think we're facing some weird stuff right now, and I've been a little bit down the rabbit hole of AI and like this technocratic revolution where people are getting sucked into their smartphones and everything, and like
implants.
It concerns me a lot.
Yeah,
it definitely concerns me. Like I'm
Good
big
call.
on protecting like my nieces and my nephew, and like I watch them like becoming really absorbed in technology, and I think that's a thing that people who are looking out for kids need to be aware of.
Yeah. And it's the Neuralink. Neuralink is supposed to be coming by the end of this year, so it would align perfectly with this whole whatever bullshit they want to pull. So that's kind of terrifying because there's a lot of useful idiots out there who can't wait to shove Neuralink in their brain. Talking about AI and that whole conjunction as well.
Scientism and materialism is no bueno.
No.
I think that at the end of the day, you want to assert like whether or not you consent to something. So like
I do not consent.
Yeah. So like even saying I do not consent, like even like in a sleep paralysis experience, would be like helpful.
Yeah.
Like you don't even.
It's empowering.
In the name of
Because that's what these things feed off is our state of fear and helplessness that we've been conditioned into. And so that's why even this fear of death that's been coming up in the chat tonight is like a very important one to face because you want to take that power back. That's if you have that fear, someone can use that fear against you. But if you can deal with that fear, put that fear in the right place and not let it control you, no one can ever use that against you.
Exactly. So you just want to assert your consent if you're ever in a position where you're like, confronted with this transhumanist technocratic stuff, just say that's not me. I'm not doing that. And I would also one more recommendation.
Yes.
Like this is a super deep one. Is a man named Shmuel Asher. He's a Jewish scholar. Shmuel Shmuel Asher, and he goes really deep on like the nature of reality, the matrix we're living in, and the potentially like dark forces, if you want to put it that way, antagonistic whatever that we're up against.
Yeah.
So like it's real, like, but at the same time we are more powerful, and at the end of the day, like beats darkness, and you just got to remember how powerful you are.
Absolutely.
Astrology can help you get to that point.
Well said. Thank you for that note of hope at the end there, because we do have a lot of dark forces that are working and have been working for thousands of years. That's what gives me hope, though. I'm like, dude, you've been at this for how long, and we're still here and still connected and still strong. Like, ha. Sucks to be you.
A bunch of tricksters, man.
Right.
There's tricksters who want to trick you into like giving
Agreeing.
over your consent to something. And
Exactly.
like if you're like aware and know how powerful you are and how powerful, you know, the goodness and gratitude and everything is, like you nothing to worry about, like no troubles.
Yes.
But it is a trying time. We are in a like interesting transition here.
Yes, and that's great why we're all sticking together and sharing knowledge and sharing insight like this. And thank you for making yourself available, and I'm available for people too. And hit me up if you're feeling lost, and even if you can't like afford whatever, I think we would both say that we're still here for you if you just need to like reach out to somebody even. So don't
Yeah.
don't disconnect. Don't float into the dark alone. We got your back.
Yeah, it's the awakening process can be like crazy. People
Yeah.
can ricochet between like extremism, like religious extremism, and then like atheism and whatever, and like finding that middle ground of like knowing yourself, and like you just gotta go within, and like you were talking about meditation earlier. That's like for me, that's like an essential practice that you gotta do. It's just
Yes.
to look within.
Absolutely. We are in accordance.
Right on, dude. Right on, man. Well, I appreciate you, Lindsay. You're great.
I appreciate you too. Thank you so much. It's awesome to talk to you, Mary. And yeah, call again next time if you're around.
Will do. Give me a call anytime. I wish you well, and everyone in the chat as well. So
Awesome.
take it easy.
Have a good night.
You too. See ya.
Yes. The people in the chat are saying I hear music, and yes, this whole time actually I've had Love, Peace, and Harmony playing. I play it all the time now. It's such good vibes. It's really nice. I play it when I'm sleeping. I play it when I'm meditating. Not every meditation I do, but some of them are music is allowed, and so I have it playing. I shouldn't say allowed. It's like music doesn't distract you from what you were doing. Anyway, you get it. So that's what you hear very, very lightly in the background if you hear it at all. Oh, there's another call.
Call from
Nachketa.
Nachiketa.
to accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
1.
Hello?
Hello, it's Nachiketa.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
What's up, Lindsay?
How are you?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I'm great. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Yeah.
It's always awesome to see you in the
Lots
chat.
going on.
Yeah. Yes, there's a lot going on. Where are you? Are you in India right now?
I'm still in India.
Wow.
I'm still here.
And we can hear each other this
Yep.
well. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the good thing about technology. I guess you got to use it for what it is. But
Yes.
it's a fine balance between allowing it to take over our lives and then using it for what it's meant to be.
That's
right?
that's that middle path we're always going for, right? Find the balance.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you got to find that balance.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on this year, and obviously, I really enjoyed the last caller. I'm into Vedic astrology a little bit myself. I dabble
Yeah.
here and there. I used to dabble with tarot cards, but I've given them away actually because it was just a gift anyway. But there's a lot in terms of connecting. I would say, a lot of people are a little bit shy, or they think it's evil or whatever, but I tend to think it's another form of communication.
Right. That's where I'm at as well. I think that it's a very easy method of communication that like entities can attach to because they have that habit. They've had that access given to them so many times that it's like easier for them each time, or so to speak. So I feel like for me, I experienced that entity attachment through tarot because I invited it. So I think it's very easy to do that, but I also have now long since found that it's also equally as easy to not invite anything in and to not allow or consent to any other entity interfering in your communication that you're having really with your highest self or your spiritual allies or the force that you think of as God or love. That's how I think of it.
Right. And I think intention plays a big role when we're dabbling with these kind of things,
Yes.
and being very clear with ourselves about what it is that we are, attempting to achieve.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So like in Buddhism, for example, they don't really put any emphasis on magic, although they do, pujas and rituals, and they do have a kind of a magical abilities, but in the actual practice of Buddhism, they don't really put any emphasis on magic, because they know that it exists, but they also understand the temptations that is associated with magic, and that also includes astrology as well. I mean, it's kind of a special power. It's actually, when you go into astrology, you are given, kind of like you become a surgeon, and especially when you are working with people, you become like a doctor, you become like a psychologist to them, and you talk about their charts and all this kind of stuff. So you got to be very careful not to interject your own ego into the thing.
Yes. But this includes also, and I've had this happen, and it's a different form of interjecting your ego, I think, that that the cards will very clearly, to me, my intuition is telling me, like, this is really saying, like, for example, let's say it's saying, like, this person is in a relationship that's really harmful for them. And then, and I have not emphasized that, and I don't do this anymore, but a while back I was like, I would always, when that type of energy would come up in the reading, I was like, this really isn't my business or my part, like, I'll just let them get that if they get that from it, but I won't say it or emphasize it. And since then I've been like, that's kind of messed up. Like, if the message is coming through to me and I'm intuiting it, and they're not, like, it's my job to tell them, like, that's the whole point of getting a reading from me, right? So I'm like, I'm better now, but I think that's the other side of that. You can inject your ego, or you can, like, I guess you're still injecting your ego. It's just a different way of doing it. It's like almost like you're not willing to give the message across or something.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be really pulling any punches, and the good and the bad, they go together.
Right.
And some people really want to just hear good things about everything, but that's not reality. We have good and the bad that is in existence, and a lot of the things that we tend to ignore, perpetuate because we just don't want to look at it anymore, and that's probably the reason why the evil seems to persist and actually thrive in this world, because we don't want to look at it, directly into the eyes of that thing.
Because as soon as you look at it, it's like gone. Like, its power is nothing compared to you. So you draw your attention to it, especially if you're doing it in the way where you're not adding power to it. It's like, because you can give it that kind of attention too. But then it's just like instantly you can be like, get out of here, and it's gone. It doesn't have any power actually. But yeah, I've had people who have had readings, and I'm like, okay, because I now do give any messages that I feel are there and that need to be received. And so I've given those messages like, well, this is a pretty big warning, like, that you need to look at things like this type of thing and really, like, ask yourself if that's the type of energy you want to have or whatever. And they are just like, no, that's not what it's saying. Like, it's like this. And they're just like, probably a lot of us, like you're saying, want to do, or you want to, like, close your eyes to it and ignore this, especially if it's painful or difficult or, like, requires you to be like, oh, wow, I really messed that up. Or, I have to humble myself and admit that I need to do better next time, or whatever it is.
Well, I think that's the art of giving readings and, being able to communicate, is to be subtle and tactful, but true with our communication. So that's something that we can all work on, obviously.
Yes.
We don't want to, like, go in there and bash people's head in and be like, you suck.
No.
Your life sucks.
No. No, not
but there
at all.
has to be always a positive tone to
always
everything. That's the thing.
Always.
I think that's an important thing.
And it's nice because I've never had a reading that wasn't presented in that way anyway, by their higher self, spirit guides, whatever it is, whatever that force of love is, that's helping arrange things in that reading. They've never had one that was not like, here's all of these, that's the good and the, whatever, and here's the wonderful things we can celebrate, and then here's also the things that we're like, we gotta, like, watch out for that, we gotta take care of those things. Like, there's always a mix. And we can always look at many different aspects. So luckily, I mean, I would suck to have a reading that was like, well, you sucked here and you did bad this thing and this is horrible and why have you been doing this and it's going to end terribly. Like, that would be a hard reading to do.
Well, yeah, nobody really wants to hear that. But, with this somewhat kind of understanding of karma, right? This karma just means action. It comes from the word kri.
The reaction.
And, yeah, it's we are living it out, you know. So if you're born and you're existing, that you have karma that's that's been incurred.
Yeah.
So you have to deal with it. You have to deal. You know, you're born the way you are. You are whatever height that you are. You're however intelligent you are. You're however beautiful or ugly you are. But it is you. It is you that it's been given to you, and there's no going back. There's nothing to regret. You just have to accept the fact that you're dealt with these cards, in my mind,
Absolutely.
and making the best of them.
Yes, and part of that is exactly what we were talking about too, is looking at whatever those negative patterns you may have incurred in previous existence or whatever that are still rolling over into this life. Like that's that action reaction karma like you're talking about. And if you don't look at that, it's just like the negative entities or negative energies, like it's just going to keep accumulating and rolling on through and building more and more. And someday you're going to have to look at it and deal with it. Like it's always better,
Right.
I think, to do it sooner rather than later. Like look at all the things you can, dig out all the things you can and like uproot them and help the new fertile soil build the new blooming, flourishing plants or whatever in the garden of your life. Like you don't want to let that keep dragging you down.
Festering.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, God's time is infinite. God's time is forever. He has all the time in the world. But your incarnation in this life, is finite. Everything about this reality is finite. We don't. It creates duality. There's already duality coming into existence of black and white, and good and bad, and all this kind of stuff. And within that field, because it's a kind of a range. And within range and with time, frequency can exist. Without any of that, without time and space, frequencies cannot exist. So, I think people have more power than they may believe. Just because you are given the cards that you're given, that doesn't mean, and sometimes we are dealt really bad cards, but that doesn't mean you can't play them well. So I think that's the positive note that people should understand, that, whatever situation that they may be in, there's always a way to get out of suffering.
Yes.
Through meditation and through introspection and through understanding of knowledge. I mean, in the Gita, for example, Bhagavad Gita, which is translated as the Long Celestial, is basically 700 sutras of the Mahabharata. But within that, it gives you different pathways. So it talks about mainly karma yoga, and then jnana yoga and bhakti yoga. So karma yoga is just doing your duty. You have a body, right? You are incarnate being, so you do need to eat and drink water. There's some basic things that you need to take care of, right, in order to sustain yourself. And all this system of economics and social culture, everything that we found ourselves in is a part of that, and just doing it without any expectation. You just have to do it, right? So that's part of karma yoga we have to understand. And jnana yoga is to gain knowledge, go out and gather as much knowledge about whatever in which field that you're interested in, because, there's a tremendous amount of fields, and you can spend all your life on one field, like, or tarot, you can spend 70 years or whatever and still not become an expert, right?
Yeah.
So that's jnana yoga. And then bhakti yoga is considered the ultimate path, which is the path of faith and devotion, really, because everything comes down to faith and devotion in the end. And that's something very difficult for us to accept, because our mind, our ego gets in the way very often in the way in which that we exist. So, it's something to keep on the back burner.
Yeah. What an awesome path if we could do all three of those, be aware of all three of those, and be doing what we need in all three of those yogas at the same time in the same way. And, understanding, like, I lost my train of thought there, but I was thinking of like the balance again. That's like a tripart balance, really. But it like leads to the most ultimate, like unleashing of yourself and your abilities and your place in the world, which is awesome. And it's ironic to me that it has anything to do with ego stopping us, because really It's just so funny that like ego is what it is, but in the end, if you can let go of it, ultimately you actually become more than you ever could have been before. So like you'd think ego would like that, but it actually stops you from getting there, which is interesting. But I also, when you were talking about God's time is infinite, but our physical incarnation here is limited in this plane, it just goes back to that exact same like middle path that you have to have, where you're like, well, you don't want to freak out, you don't want to be like, oh my god, I have no time, I need to like rush because I'm going to die someday, because that's not a very helpful energy to have if you're trying to accomplish anything really. But you also don't want to like take it for granted and just sit around and be like, oh yeah, we have infinite incarnations and we'll just figure it out sometime, because then you're wasting all of this that has, you know, presented itself to you in this life in whatever way that it's presenting to you right now. And whatever way it's presenting right now is exactly what you need to experience in order to get to whatever your like next step is, right? You just, it might not feel that way, but it's true.
Well, I mean, whether you like it or not, you're still, you know, breathing and existing and, you know, lamenting and, or, you know, pleasant. I mean, you know, whatever that's happening, you are where you are and you're doing whatever you're doing. And, you know, we need to work on ourselves. That's one of the main things is to, we're worried about all the external stuff, but, you know, finding that balance, as you were saying, of, you know, some people are very much extroverts. Some people are a little bit more of an introvert. So I myself am an introvert, and I need to, you know, call and talk to people and, you know, throw myself out there a little bit, because it's very easy for me to just kind of like be a recluse. And I already am. I'm, you know, living like a hermit already.
Right.
So that's part of the reason why I feel compelled to want to reach out and, you know, communicate with people. But then there are others who, you know, expend too much of themselves and get burned out. So finding that little balance is, you know, very good to progress.
Yes. Oh no. Well, I guess that was the end of that call. It was a nice time to end it, really, but it just hung up all of a sudden. So feel free to call back if you want to. And if you don't want to, then hey, thanks for calling, Nachiketa. And as always, such great wisdom. And I was going to say, just to comment on Nachiketa saying that, you know, doing inner work is actually the most important thing that you can do. That's exactly where I'm at. That's where all the messages send me. That's where all the paths lead. Every single great teacher that I've ever looked into has said the exact same thing. So it is like, and maybe we would have talked about this if the phone didn't cut off, but it is, oh, maybe that's him. Oh my God. It's going to do the thing where I can't answer it for no reason. What a shitty service. Maybe I'll get a real phone someday. Like, I can't even stop the sound of it ringing because there's nowhere to hang up or answer, which is really frustrating. It's just a poor interface, too. It's just really bad. Was that the... I'm sorry that I can't answer now. It's not your fault, and it's not my fault, but it's happening. If you call again, I might be able to. I don't know. But yeah, just every great teacher has said the exact same thing about going inward and working on your inner self in order to literally save the world. And it's that same aspect of Chiron that we were talking about that we keep coming back to in the show as well, that wounded healer. Everything that you can work on in yourself and heal, and let go of the ego that tells you you're already perfect or that you're not good enough to work on and get better. You know, there's a lot of different sides of ego. God damn it. I can hear it. I just can't answer it. What doesn't even make sense is I just closed it and it's still ringing. Oh my God, I finally figured it out. Hello.
Hey.
Is this Nachiketa
Are you
again?
there?
Yes.
Yeah. I lost you. I don't know what's going on, or if it's my connectivity, or...
I have no idea. It is...
I didn't want to...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just... and I also don't want to prevent any other callers to call in either. So but I just want to finish a thought, which was about, like, you know, what are your feelings about what's happening in 2020? You know?
Yeah.
About what's
spiritually, the way I see it is that same, it's the same sort of idea as you were just talking about before you got cut off, and as I was talking about while you were calling back, which is the idea that you really do have to heal yourself in order to heal the world, and save yourself in order to save the world, and that doing that inner work is actually reflecting out in the world at you. And I think people think it's this like magical, froofy, like fairy tale, like love and light, thing that's like not real. And I'm like, no, it's like literally what's happening. And I think all of this chaos we're seeing is really because we're at like the crossing point of like we can no longer continue to give up responsibility for ourselves, which is what we've been doing for who knows how long, and in every possible way that you can imagine. Spiritually, we've given up responsibility for ourselves, and we've said, oh, the priests and whatever, the shamans, like they can do that. And it's like, no, you have to be your priest and your shaman, and economically we're like, well, like I'll get like a check from like the whatever, and like, I don't know, like whoever will take care of me, like it's fine. Or like food. We're like, well, yeah, we'll just go to the store. There'll be food there. And it's like, we don't grow our own food. We don't even know sometimes that food grows. Like there's people who don't understand that food grows from the ground.
They're nicely packaged.
Yeah. Food comes from the store.
Come in plastic bags.
Exactly. And like there's just every single aspect of our society that you could possibly identify, every single aspect of self that you could identify, we have practiced and like perfected the art of giving up responsibility for it. And so we need to like radically change that all back around and take as much responsibility as we can for every single aspect of it. But I think it's hard for people because we've also are coming from how many thousands of years of trauma that's been inflicted on us as a race and various different cultures in different ways. And we're still carrying it out today by, traumatizing babies at birth and like and that's carried in our genetics, but it's carried on a spiritual level as well. And it's like in our body, it's all over us. So even when we go to try to take responsibility, we're like coming up against all these layers of this dark energy and these dark entities that are in the form of trauma have like attached to us. And that makes it real slow going. And so it makes it even more important though, that we're like doing that because we need to clear all of that. We need to clear it, let it go, take responsibility for ourselves. And, we can save this. We can turn this thing around.
Would you agree? Because I don't really belong to any religion.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there. But I do like to read scriptures from, Christianity. Like I do, look at the Bible. I do look at Vedic texts, and I do look at Buddhism. But would you agree with this statement that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm with you. I've studied so many religions and traditions, and I take what I want from each. I think a lot have been corrupted in various ways, but there's still gems in all of them, and some are much more pure than others, and I kind of take them and do what I can with them. But that is one that always definitely sticks out to me, and it makes a lot of sense to me. But I don't want it to get in the way of people thinking, like, I don't want that to disempower people, because I don't want people to hear that and be like, oh, well, it's all just spiritual warfare and I'm just a body, so let God take care of that. It's like, no, you have to take care of that, because that is you. Like, you're reflecting that and you're being that. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's a material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. And I think that is kind of what as above, so below kind of deal. It's not necessarily a physical above, a physical below, but it can be more of a spiritual above and a metaphysical above and a physical below. But like the main idea behind all of this, for me anyway, is to understand that, we are being manipulated. And the core aspect of it is that, people can sell bullshit, but at the same time, you're buying bullshit.
Yeah.
The people are buying bullshit, right? So you have to take responsibility for the bullshit that, you cannot do anything about people selling bullshit.
Yes.
You can't do anything about it. You can sell all kinds of bullshit that they want.
Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly what I'm like on about. You can't actually make anyone else do anything ever, but you can make yourself do whatever you want. You have free will.
Right. Yeah. And that's, I think, a very core aspect of becoming quote unquote free from all the manipulation is that, why are they so concerned about manipulating people? I mean, we do understand that they're manipulating people on all levels. They're lying about just about everything that you can think of.
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why, if they can just grab you and throw you into jail, you know, without your consent, and
Yeah.
just force everybody to do and turn them into robots, why wouldn't they have just done it? You know?
Exactly.
Right.
It's the same with demons. It's the same with people. It's the same with like because it is all spiritual in nature, and it all comes down to consent, and they have to get it from you, or else none of it works. So all you have to do
Because
is not.
it's a cosmic rule. It's a cosmic law, because if you manipulate people and you don't tell them that they're being manipulated, then that's where the predictive programming starts to come in. Then you're karmically entangled with it, okay? And so now you are 100% responsible. Now, but if you sell people and you write in fine print, hey, this is going to have side effects, this is going to have, you know, this might cause you to want to commit suicide, all this kind of stuff, but you bought it anyway and you ingested that pill, right?
Right.
Then you're responsible.
Yeah.
They told you everything.
Absolutely.
They told you everything that's going to happen.
Well, and it's the same
You
with,
know, so
this is what's concerning me with what's coming is, you know, vaccines, Neuralink, whatever form it takes, or all of the above. Like the people,
Right.
I think people really underestimate their free will, and I think they also look at it as like, well, sure, I have free will. I can say like, no, I won't have the vaccine, but then I won't have a job. And I'm like, yeah, true. Like, so don't, because that's your responsibility, is to figure out your life without that. Then, like, I'm sorry, it's harsh. It is harsh. It's just true though. Like, if you consent to it, you consent to it, no matter what level you did that at. Right? It's the same with like murder or anything else you do. Like, you took that action, you chose to do it. And so now that's your choice that you made. So I think it's very, very important to like reckon with this before you're put in that type of a position, and to say to yourself, like, what am I willing to do, and how far am I willing to go? Because I know for me personally what the lines are, and I know I'm not going to get Neuralink or a vaccine no matter what. And that I, like, if you know, whatever happens, happens, but that's what I'm not doing. So...
Well, I mean, like you made a very clear line with yourself first. I mean, you have to make that clear line with yourself first, and then, you know, whatever happens, it's outside of your control. But at least you have not consented, you know, within yourself. I think that's the most important thing.
Yes. You know? Yeah, I think you're right. Because that's the other thing is I'm like, well, what if someone runs at you at the vaccine and they like jab it into you? And I'm like, well, you did not consent to that. Like, that did not, spiritually, that is void.
If the SWAT team wants to come in and break your door down and, you know, hold you down and then inject you with something, there's nothing really any of us can do, really, you know. But if enough people decide not to consent to it, well, you know, they are in the understanding of what the trends are. They're always looking at the trends. And it's kind of similar to this idea of millionaires may not believe in astrology, but billionaires do, you know. And when I think about that, like, they know when the good timing is. They knew that 2020 was good time for quote unquote change with all the different retrogrades and conjunctions. And it's kind of like a wave. It's like a tide coming in, and you have your boat sitting out there. Why would you want to move the boat around when there's no water on, you know, around, right? You want the water to be coming in so you can easily move the boats around. So that's kind of with people. They can be influenced with these, you know, astrology and all this kind of stuff, these kind of energy. But still, in the end, if you have awareness, if you have the ability to understand, hey, look, you know, this is not something I want. But the thing is, the way they manipulate everybody always been is that they try to convince everybody that this is what you want. That's how they sell everything. Is that they want you to have it. They create the desire within you that this is something desirable.
Right.
You know,
including the desire of not wanting to go to a FEMA camp or not wanting to not have a job or those things too. They have disincentives as well. They're like, you want this and you really don't want that. So you have to have this.
Yeah. That's the duality, you know. So anyways, I'll leave it there. There's some other people who want to call in, but it was good talking to you, Lindsay, and great show.
Yay. Thank you. It's awesome to talk to you too, Nachiketa, and come back again sometime. We'll do a whole episode together.
Sounds good. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes, someone called, and I had to hang up on you because we were in the middle of a call, but I am probably going to go anyway because now it's late. But I love talking with you guys. It's so much fun. You guys are the best in the chat and on the phone. I like it when I get to do the call-ins because it's so cool to get the wisdom of the crowd. I know that's not what people mean when they say wisdom of the crowd, but it's what I'm going to mean when I say it. But yeah, I really like the way this show went. I really like the threads that get pulled out. I really like that it reinforces all of the things that I always personally would love to reinforce anytime I do a show, and that is personal responsibility and healing yourself for the good of yourself. And the whole entire world, the whole entire universe rejoices at you healing yourself. You know, and so taking that time to really, really dig in, like, what can I heal myself? What needs to be healed in myself? It's going to present itself to you if you're asking it. And the other thing that I don't think anybody mentioned tonight, but that is definitely worth mentioning, is you can always ask for help. And I guess Mary and I, Serena, talked about it a little bit, like you can ask us for help, but you can ask your heart for help. You can ask your soul for help. You can ask your higher power, whatever it is, for help. God, whatever that source is, that source of love, you know, you can ask that for help, and it will never, ever, ever fail to give you help when you ask for it. So don't ever forget that. You're literally never alone. You always have the forces of the unseen just at your back, like waiting to like rush forward with you. And they've probably been waiting for a long time. So let them help you out and let them come forward. While maintaining safety and not inviting in anything that is not of the highest truth, beauty, and goodness. That's what you always want, to have that intention in mind that you're connecting with your highest source of love and truth and nothing else. So keep that in mind as well. But if you would ever like any more support or guidance in those ways, definitely get a hold of me and we can arrange all kinds of things to help support you in your travels. I am not in Aries, not in sidereal, and not in Western astrology. I am Ophiuchus. And it's so fitting. But I love you all so much. And until you have mastered the art of asking your highest self and your highest allies for help, drawing down that source of love into yourself, exploding all of the darkness away so that you can see what it was all about, heal it, tinker with it, and let go everything that isn't you, really be whole in yourself, take ultimate responsibility for who you are, and therefore heal the entire universe in the process. What a master you are. So much free will, so much agency, and so much power. Until you do all of that, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
Nasty motherfuckers with a hook and a sickle. Brought to you advertisement, bone-plated nickel. Fire rate, automatic smash from the get-go. Snack on the whack, fermented flesh disco. Abracadabra, archaic altars don't slabber. Hey, making jabbers, flip reality backwards. Hunting rap nerds, bodyguard collected actors. Munitions are famished, let them feast upon the dapper. Bloody bibs and muddy kicks, feasting on amygdalas. Iron fist, tyrant shit, APO will rip you up. The rhyme rainmaker, Bane style backbreaker. Genghis Khan depleted uranium satellite lasers. Cloaked in anonymity, I know you never heard of me. No rusted tools used for Crowley style surgery.
Dissect a whole set, God body. God taught me to dissect the whole body. When it gets sloppy, I'ma get there. Rhymes rare like steak, get crushed like crates to create 52 states. And it's Baghdad, dusted towels, no rags. Straight melt dash, dust to ash. Turbans while the niggas perkin'. It's on purpose, my service touches the sun's surface, and rainbows touch serpents. My light all night shines so bright. I'm a star for eons, Hollywood's for peons, cause they try to copy the same shit we on. Hey, I ain't done yet, lungs depleted and can't breathe, can't believe it. Trying to seek it while trying to peep it, it's a secret. Now you're nobody, label somebody, trying to claim John Gotti. It's yours truly, God body.